Chapter 2591. No matter how bold they were, they would never have guessed that Knight's Sorrow would be matched against Wu Yu. The host of the 7-sect tournament, Liang Shijun, the deputy gate master of the Tianqing Gate, announced the names of the 4 matches. Everyone began to discuss it. They all felt that this was an early fight for the championship. Wu Yu was the undisputed king of the Divine Feather realm. He had been on the Divine Feather list for many years. Knight's Sorrow was a legend who had risen recently. He was as strong as Wu Yu. He had challenged the top 3 experts in public, but Wu Yu and the others didn't accept the challenge. Now that these 2 experts were about to meet in the 7-sect tournament, everyone's attention was on them. Ha ha ha. This Wu Yu is really unlucky. He's going to meet Brother Yi in the quarterfinals. Looks like this defending champion won't even be able to enter the top 4 this time. Si Kongxiang was the first to laugh when he heard the names of the matches from Tianyun School. In his opinion, Wu Yu was definitely no match for Knight's Sorrow. It was sad that they were matched against each other. Knight's Sorrow, are you sure you can beat Wu Yu? As a girl, Mei Ruoxue was more reserved. She asked seriously. Wu Yu has been on the top of the Divine Feather list for a long time. He must be very strong. Also, he must have cultivated for much longer than me. He must have more tricks up his sleeve. Knight's Sorrow analyzed Wu Yu's advantages rationally. He then said confidently, however, I don't have any shortcomings in the Divine Feather realm. I shouldn't be afraid of anyone. Yi Shang's words were not baseless confidence. Whether it was the strength of his body, divine yuan energy, soul power, elemental affinity, or divine artifact, he was an overwhelming existence in the Divine Feather realm. Wu Yu might be outstanding in 1 or 2 aspects, but he couldn't be so well-rounded. If he had such a strong foundation, he would have become a supreme god a long time ago. There was no need for him to stay in the Divine Feather realm and waste time. Ha! Brother Ye's victory was inevitable. Think about it for a moment. Even He Gemin Clear Sound thinks highly of someone. How could he possibly lose to someone on the same level as him? Si Kongxiang was completely optimistic about Knight's Sorrow's victory. In his opinion, a person with the aura of a ruler would definitely be invincible within the same realm. Let's see if Wu Yu will use any underhanded methods. If he cheats like Xianyuan Changye, he'll definitely be hard to deal with. Knight's Sorrow's first 2 matches were not smooth sailing, and Ho Qingshan was worried that he would encounter Wu Yu in a similar situation. At this moment, the usually reserved Yan Jing suddenly smiled and said, Senior Brother Ho, I think you should pay attention to our duel first. It turned out that the second group's match was a civil war between Tianyun school students. Yan Jing vs. Ho Qingshan. Ho Qingshan had actually met the students of Tianyun School twice in a row. What's there to be concerned about? I'm telling you, don't go easy on me again. Otherwise, I'll get angry with you. Ho Qingshan had yet to recover from the backlash of forcefully using his bloodline ability. He immediately reprimanded Yan Jing after hearing his words. Si Kongxiang had already gone easy on him, allowing him to fulfill his dream of entering the top 8 in the 7-sect tournament. If Yan Jing went easy on him again, he would not be able to face him. Alright, we'll see. Yan Jing replied and did not say anything else. As for the other 2 matches, it was Shangshu Yan vs. Yan Jifei, and Ao Qingsong vs. Wen Tianhe. These 2 matches were very interesting to watch. Shangshu Yan of the Sky Immortal Sect was ranked 2nd on the Feather God list. Yan Jifei of the Sky Martial Pavilion used to be ranked 3rd, but he had fallen to 9th after being defeated by Knight's Sorrow. The 2 of them were only 1 rank apart. It was hard to say who would win if they fought. Ao Qingsong vs. Wen Tianhe were ranked 4th and 5th on the Feather God list respectively. They were also only 1 rank apart. Their match was very suspenseful. Everyone, prepare yourselves. Those who are going to fight, go up. Those who are going to watch, quickly find your seats. After Lu Qingyuan returned, he explained to everyone. He then looked at the three people who were going to fight and said, Knight Sorrow, do your best. As for the two of you, go and play. Elder Lu. What do you mean play? One of us will enter the top 4 of the 7-sect tournament. Hearing this, Yanjing replied jokingly. No matter who advances, you will be the easiest person to advance to the top 4 in the history of the 7-sect tournament. To be honest, this is the disadvantage of the arena mode. Only the experiential mode can truly train people. Lu Qingyuan took advantage of the arena mode, but he did not forget to complain about the rules. If there's nothing else, I'm going to fight. Yishan smiled as he looked at the crowd. Then, he slowly flew towards arena number 1. When Knight Sorrow's figure slowly landed in the center of arena number 1, the referee was already in place. The spectator seats were also full, but Wu Yu had yet to arrive. Wu Yu is so arrogant. After waiting for about 15 minutes, the other matches had already begun, but Wu Yu had yet to appear. Knight Sorrow was still waiting calmly. Si Kongxiang, who was watching the match, could not help but complain. Could it be that he thinks he can't beat Knight Sorrow, so he chose to avoid the battle? Mei Ruoxue, who was beside Si Kongxiang, said faintly. I don't think so. How embarrassing would that be? Si Kongxiang was speechless. If Wu Yu chose to avoid the battle, he would definitely be so embarrassed in the Cloud Fairy continent that he would not be able to raise his head. He's here. What a big card. However, the bigger the spectacle, the more embarrassed he will be. Just as the two of them were talking, a war chariot pulled by 9 Sir God-level flood dragons suddenly appeared in the void. The main character of this match, Wu Yu, was on the war chariot. Si Kongxiang could not help but complain when he saw Wu Yu's extravagant display. Knight Sorrow. Today is not only the day you and I fight, but also the day you die. Prepare to die. Wu Yu's arrogant voice could be heard when the war chariot was still some distance away from the arena. Senior brother Wu Yu is invincible in the Feather God level. Senior brother Wu Yu killed Knight Sorrow and defended the throne of the Feather God list. When Wu Yu appeared, many disciples watching the match at Tianqin Gate cheered wildly. They looked as if they were welcoming an invincible god of war. In fact, that was indeed the case. Wu Yu had never tasted defeat in his entire life. What? Are you so scared that you don't dare to speak? Wu Yu, who was controlling the war chariot and flying slowly above the arena, asked when he saw that Knight Sorrow did not respond. I don't have much to say to the dead. Yishang, who was looking at Worryless, was expressionless. His voice was also not loud. However, Wu Yu was so angry that his veins bulged. He sneered and said, I changed my mind. I won't kill you today. Instead, I will make you my slave forever. You are very confident. Come, let me see how strong you are, the number 1 on the Feather God list. Make your move. Knight Sorrow looked at Wu Yu and said. There is no need for me to deal with you personally. Sending my slave is enough. Go, tear him apart. Chapter 2592. What? You can use this method in the 7-sect tournament? That's too shameless. Seeing that Wu Yu controlled the 9 Divine Lord Flood Dragons to attack Knight Sorrow, everyone from Tianyun School was furious. What do you know? This is a reasonable use of the rules. The 9 Flood Dragons are all puppets under my control. Why can't I use them against my opponent? Wu Yu, who was floating in the air, seemed to be able to guess the doubts in everyone's hearts. He sneered. You can control 9 Divine Lord Flood Dragon puppets by yourself. It seems that your divine soul is very powerful. Seeing that the 9 Flood Dragons were shooting wind, fire, thunder, and lightning at him, Night Sorrow praised Wu Yu and then used the Void Extreme Shadow Body to hide. At the same time, he took out the Heavenly Samsara Halberd and used the Fiery Demon Subduing Flames to dye the space around the arena red. Oh whoa! The flood dragons that were burned by the flames flew up into the air. The flames that were stained with the phoenix blood made the flood dragons very uncomfortable, so they could only choose to retreat temporarily. At the same time, Night Sorrow, who was holding the Heavenly Samsara Halberd, chased after them and used the forbidden 10 spears. 9 of the 10 spears were aimed at the low-level Divine Lord Flood Dragons, and the last spear was aimed at Wu Yu's forehead. Night Sorrow, you're brave. Good job. Lu Qingyuan shouted excitedly when he saw that Night Sorrow was still so strong in the face of the 9 Divine Lord Flood Dragons and Wu Yu. Si Kongxiang also exclaimed, he really has an invincible aura. The other people from Tianyun School were also very excited. In fact, they were not the only ones. The other spectators were also stunned by Yi Shang's valiant display. Who would have thought that he, a feather god, could face 9 Divine Lord Flood Dragons alone without being defeated? This was the strength of a monster. Wu Yu, who was controlling the Flood Dragons, looked a little gloomy. 6 Directions Godly Ruler. In the face of Night Sorrow's Heavenly Samsara Halberd, he let out a loud shout and summoned a ruler-shaped divine weapon to meet Night Sorrow's spear head-on. Boom! After the two collided, the void immediately exploded, and the entire mountain shook. The 9 flood dragons that faced Night Sorrow's 9 spears each executed their own ultimate techniques. Every time they clashed, it felt like the ground was shaking. Is this still a battle between feather gods? The power of the battle made Liang Shijun, the deputy leader of Tianqin Gate, exclaim in surprise. This battle seemed to be completely at the Divine Lord level. This is indeed a battle between 2 peerless geniuses. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have given Wu Yu the 9 Dragon War Chariot. I would have given him an even more powerful divine weapon. This Night Sorrow has already exceeded my expectations. Fan Xianyun, the other Grand Supreme Elder of Tianqin Gate, sighed regretfully. In fact, it wasn't Wu Yu's powerful spiritual soul that allowed him to control the 9 Divine Lord level flood dragons. It was the 9 Dragon War Chariot that allowed him to control the 9 flood dragons. This was completely cheating, but the judge didn't say anything. You will definitely lose today's battle. I, Wu Yu, will defend my position on the Feather Gods list. After blocking Night Sorrow's attack with the Heavenly Samsara Halberd, Wu Yu's eyebrows were filled with murderous intent. He could already tell that the 9 Divine Lord level flood dragons were not enough to defeat Night Sorrow. He immediately used a secret technique to increase his strength and prepared to fight with the 9 flood dragons. Winning or losing is not decided by words. Night Sorrow, who was floating in the void, said disdainfully. At the moment, he was suppressing a fire-type flood dragon. This flood dragon was continuously hit by the halberd radiance of the Heavenly Samsara Halberd. It kept roaring in the void and tried to escape, but it couldn't get rid of the halberd radiance. I, Wu Yu, will prove it with my strength. Wu Yu, who had been despised, exploded with murderous intent. That violent murderous intent made the disciples of Tianqin Gate scream. Then, Wu Yu took out a mountain-shaped relic and threw it into the void. It covered Night Sorrow's head directly. Night Sorrow immediately felt an irresistible weight pressing down on him. He couldn't lift his head. What a strong power! But this is still not enough to suppress me. Night Sorrow's aura was completely locked on by this mountain-shaped relic. He couldn't escape at all. He made a prompt decision to use the 33 Heavens battle secret technique and increase his strength tenfold. He used the Heavenly Samsara Halberd to attack the mountain-shaped relic that was suppressing him. He wanted to shake off the suppression. Ha ha! It's useless. Take my 6 directions deity destroying ruler. Seeing that Night's sorrow was suppressed, Wu Yu sneered and attacked with the Six Directions deity-destroying ruler. The 9 flood dragons in the void also swarmed up and were ready to tear Night's sorrow apart. Night's sorrow, watch out! Lu Qingyuan, who was watching the battle, saw that Night's sorrow was suppressed. He was so nervous that he clenched his fists. Mei Ruoxue was so scared that she closed her eyes, afraid that a tragedy would happen. Si Kongxiang and Yun Tingfei cheered for Night's sorrow. They didn't want to show weakness. Not bad, but it lacks real killing power. At this moment, Night's sorrow, who had attacked the mountain-shaped relic with the Six Directions deity-destroying ruler, controlled the heavenly samsara halberd to resist the mountain-shaped relic with its own strength. He used his bare hands to block Wu Yu's Six Directions deity-destroying ruler. Ha ha! You dare to block my Six Directions deity-destroying ruler with your bare hands. Night's sorrow, I have to admire your courage. However, you are digging your own grave. Seeing that Night's sorrow had blocked the Six Directions deity-destroying ruler with his bare hands, Wu Yu sneered. Six Directions deity-destroying ruler. It was a monarch-grade relic. He didn't believe that Night's sorrow's body had reached the monarch grade. Boom! A moment later, the answer given by time shocked Wu Yu to the point of being dumbfounded. He discovered that countless cracks had appeared on his Six Directions divinity destruction ruler from Yishang's punch. How is this possible? Wu Yu couldn't believe what had happened. He came from the same family as Wu Exayan. He had learned from Wu Exayan about body tempering and had reached the upper feather god grade. Originally, he thought that even if he couldn't take down Night's sorrow for the time being, he could use his body's strength to crush him after the two's divine essence powers were depleted. Now, it looked like this possibility was gone. Moreover, Wu Yu judged that if the two's divine essence powers were completely depleted, he definitely wouldn't be Night's sorrow's match in terms of body strength. He immediately thought of countermeasures in his heart. He thought to himself, it's all Grand Elder Fan's fault. The 9 dragons war chariot's grade is too low. The 9 dragons summoned can't do anything to Night's sorrow. However, if I control them to self-destruct, the effect will definitely be very good. Thinking of this, Wu Yu didn't hesitate at all. He immediately made the fire attribute dragon closest to Night's sorrow self-destruct. Under Wu Yu's control, this fire attribute dragon didn't delay at all and directly chose to self-destruct. Rumble. A deafening sound instantly reverberated throughout the entire place. The self-destruction of a monarch-grade fire attribute dragon caused the surrounding void to completely collapse. How's Night's sorrow doing? The earth-shattering sound of self-destruction rang out. The hearts of everyone in Tianyun School immediately rose to their throats. Chapter 2593. In fact, the people of Tianyun School were too concerned about Yi Shiwen. Night's sorrow had survived the invincible monarch god talismans twice. How could he be killed by the self-explosion of a lower monarch god flood dragon? Just as the disciples of Tianqing Gate were cheering for Wu Yu's victory, Yishang's figure stepped out of the smoke. Samsara Void Palm. As soon as he appeared, Night's sorrow attacked Wu Yu with the Samsara Void Palm. After being attacked continuously and suffering some minor injuries, Night's sorrow's fighting spirit was aroused. What's going on? Why do I feel like I'm facing thousands of palms? Facing the Samsara Void Palm, Wu Yu was shocked. He couldn't see through the trajectory of Night's sorrow's attack. Bang! The sudden attack from the void sent Wu Yu flying. The spectators of the Tianqing sect had yet to recover from their cheers when they let out a huge cry of surprise. Exclaim. What will make you exclaim is yet to come. Seeing everyone's reaction, Night's sorrow called back the Samsara halberd that was locked in a stalemate with the mountain-shaped divine weapon. Without hesitation, he attacked Wu Yu with the Samsara strike. When Wu Yu reacted and wanted to dodge, Night's sorrow used the divine essence dragon lock spell to trap him. Boom! Wu Yu, who couldn't break the divine essence dragon lock spell in a short time, was hit by the Samsara halberd. The injury was completely different from when he was hit by the palm. The robe on his body was shattered by the halberd radiance of the Samsara halberd. His entire person looked extremely wretched. Many parts of his body even revealed his bones. Sky-killing halberd. After the remaining 8 Divine Lord level flood dragons came to their senses, they continued to attack Yishan. Facing their attacks, Knight Sorrow chose to take them head-on. Once again, he attacked Wuyo with the heaven-slaughtering divine halberd that had the reincarnation attribute. He had deduced this move when he was fighting against the Shengguan clan's great elder, Shengguan Ku. It was very powerful and carried a crazy killing intent. Damn it! He still couldn't avoid it. We can only take it head-on. Facing Knight Sorrow's sky-killing divine halberd, Wuyo knew that dodging was useless. He controlled the mountain-shaped divine weapon and chose to collide with it directly. He knew that he would not be able to block this attack with the 6 Directions God Destruction Ruler. Wuyo's mountain-shaped divine artifact, the 10,000 Mountains Divine Peak, was a monarch god-level taboo divine artifact given to him by the Gate Master of Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng. It was indeed very powerful and could withstand this attack. 1,000 sky-splitting shadow palms. Knight Sorrow, who had used his god domain and divine lord level Azure Phoenix battle armor to forcefully resist the attacks of the 8 dragons, continued to madly attack Wuyo. Wuyo, who was in a panic, could not react in time. He was hit in the chest, and several of his sternum were broken. Such powerful attacks, wave after wave of attacks. In terms of strength, I am not as strong as him. Wuyo, who had spat out a mouthful of blood, immediately used his divine origin energy to repair his body. He was a little frightened. Forbidden Spear. At this moment, he felt that Wuyo's aura was obviously suppressed. Knight Sorrow sneered and attacked again. This was the effect he wanted. Using the continuous and violent attacks to make Wuyo completely lose the confidence to resist. Again. How is your divine origin energy so dense that it can support such frequent attacks? As expected, Wuyo's face turned ghastly pale when Knight Sorrow used his Forbidden Spear. Wuyo, use that move quickly. Even if it's cheating, we have to win this battle. At this moment, the Grand Elder of Tianqing Gate, Fan Xianyun, who was standing outside the arena, reminded him. Yes. Now that things have come to this, I can only use that method. Otherwise, I will definitely lose. Wuyo, who was completely suppressed by Knight Sorrow, heard Fan Xianyun's reminder, and his eyes lit up. He looked up to the sky and roared, "The power of heaven and earth is for me to use." In an instant, a large amount of divine spiritual energy in the area around Tianqing Gate rushed toward Wuyo and entered his body. While repairing his body, it also filled his divine origin energy again. 9 Dragons War Chariot. Protect Master. Wuyo, who had just recovered, did not have the chance to dodge the Forbidden Spear. At the crucial moment, he chose to use the 9 Dragons War Chariot to block in front of him. The heavenly Samsara halberd hit the 9 Dragons War Chariot, and the entire War Chariot was smashed into pieces. The 8 flood dragons that had been attacking Yishang all this time disappeared into the void as the war chariot shattered. Ha, ha ha ha. The 9 dragons war chariot and the 8 dragons all disappeared into the void. Wuyo, on the other hand, laughed wildly. With the support of the power of heaven and earth around Tianqing Gate, he felt that the divine origin energy in his body was about to overflow. The divine spiritual energy around Tianqing Gate was immeasurable. This meant that if he continued to fight here, the divine origin energy in his body would never dry up. The winner of this battle will be me, Wuyo. Feeling the explosive power in his body, Wuyo sneered. Knight Sorrow, you used so many secret techniques in succession just now, and you even used a secret technique to increase your strength. I think the backlash will come soon. The endless power made Wuyo feel like he controlled the world. At this moment, he felt like he was the ruler. Whether it's true or not, I will defeat you. Night Sorrow naturally understood what was going on with Wuyo. However, absolute confidence appeared between his brows. At this moment, he suddenly thought of a crazy way to fight. I, Wuyo, will never run out of divine power. I am invincible in the divine feather realm. Night Sorrow, prepare to meet your death. After his aura rose to a certain level, Wuyo, who had a crazed look on his face, roared and prepared to use his secret technique. Shameless. The two of them are using the power of heaven and earth to fight in the arena. This is completely cheating. Referee, don't you care? Lu Qingyuan, who was watching from the sidelines, flew to the referee and asked. Firstly, he didn't use any divine talismans. Secondly, he didn't use any elixirs. Thirdly, he didn't consume any treasures. It's not a violation of the rules, the referee replied coldly to Lu Qingyuan's question. F***CK. Are you from Tianqin Gate? A disciple of Tianqin Gate is participating in a battle, and the referee is choosing an elder from Tianqin Gate. Don't you have any shame? When he got closer, Lu Qingyuan immediately determined from the referee's aura that he was from the Clear Sky sect. If you make any more noise, it will affect me. I will rule that Tianyun School has violated the rules. Wuyo is the winner. In the face of Lu Qingyuan's question, the referee threatened him disdainfully. Shameless. Tianqin Gate had put in a lot of effort for Wuyo's battle. Lu Qingyuan, who couldn't help Night Sorrow at all, felt a sense of guilt. He felt that he wasn't qualified to lead the team. Wow! At this moment, Lu Qingyuan heard an uproar in the arena. He looked at the void where the battle was taking place and was instantly stunned. At this moment, Night Sorrow had used the Divine Essence Dragon-locking Array to lock himself and Wuyo in a narrow space. He had chosen to fight him in close combat. Wuyo! Isn't your Divine Essence energy boundless and endless? Why don't you show it to me? Wuyo's despicable method had completely infuriated Night Sorrow. He sneered and used his strong body to launch a crazy attack. This battle instantly turned into the most primitive way of fighting. In such a small space, Wuyo didn't have the space to use his secret techniques. He could only bite the bullet and fight Night Sorrow. Yishang's body was already unrivaled in the Feather God realm. Furthermore, he had the support of the Azure Phoenix battle armor, so he quickly suppressed Wuyo in close combat. Wuyo, who had so much God Essence energy that it was about to overflow, felt like crying but had no tears. Night Sorrow. I heard that you are the Feather God of Merit. You should be very concerned about the safety of your friends, right? Wuyo was completely suppressed. It was only a matter of time before he lost. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Chapter 2594. If my information is correct, Yaoshi should be your friend, right? Wuyu, who was being suppressed, had no chance to use his ultimate techniques in this narrow space. He had sufficient divine essence energy, but he couldn't use it at all. He wasn't Night Sorrow's match in close combat, so he felt very aggrieved. Seeing that he was about to lose, he prepared to play tricks again. This was another trump card he had prepared to deal with Night Sorrow. Yao Shi. What did you do to her? Hearing Wu Yu's words, Night Sorrow thought for a moment. Yao Shi had indeed not appeared for a while. He thought that she had left. Ha! Of course, she has been controlled by the people of Tianqin Gate. Wu Yu laughed evilly in the enclosed space and transmitted his voice. How is it? Did you choose to give up this battle to save your friend? Or did you choose to ignore your friend's life and death for the sake of victory? Wu Yu, you did something wrong. Touching the enemy of my family and friends is equivalent to touching my reverse scale. Night Sorrow, who was still attacking, roared in the enclosed space, I didn't want to kill you, but now you will die without a doubt. Night Sorrow, whose roar shook the sky, was like an enraged tiger that wanted to tear Wu Yu to shreds. The legendary feather god of merit is actually such a piece of trash. For the sake of victory, you don't even care about your friend. Wu Yu, who was continuously attacked, had a body much stronger than ordinary cultivators. However, he had no chance of winning in close combat against Night Sorrow. He questioned with a crazed expression. Don't worry about these things. Think about how to welcome death. Night Sorrow, who was completely enraged, sneered and found an opportunity to shatter Wu Yu's dantian with a punch. At the same time that Wu Yu let out a blood-curdling scream, his spirit sea was shattered and his soul was destroyed. This process was too sudden. Wu Yu, who originally thought that Night Sorrow would definitely submit, was killed before he could even shout out a surrender. After killing Wu Yu, Night Sorrow did not immediately disperse the Divine Origin Dragon-locking formation. Instead, he kept Wu Yu's spatial artifact into his bag and studied the items inside. He found a millstone-shaped secret treasure. After testing it out, Night Sorrow smiled and said, sure enough. Then, he dispersed the Divine Origin Dragon-locking formation. Wu Yu's body, which had completely lost its vitality, fell to the ground. Seeing that Wu Yu had already been killed, everyone watching the battle at the scene all let out a wave of exclamations. Night Sorrow! I will kill you with my own hands to avenge my brother. Seeing Night Sorrow's figure slowly descend from the sky, Wu Li, who was watching from the sidelines, let out a sharp cry. He was Wu Yu's biological brother, but he had joined Tianxian school. This was an unintentional setup. You are Wu Li. After the referee announced the result of the match, Night Sorrow swallowed a Yuan Qi recovery pill and looked at Wu Li. This Wu Li was the complete opposite of his name. His entire body seemed to be filled with endless evil qi. It was as if his entire body was formed by 10,000 years of evil qi. At first glance, one could tell that he was in existence with a strong murderous nature. I am Wu Li, Wu Yu's brother. Night Sorrow, I heard that you are going to participate in the deity group's grand competition. I hope you won't go back on your word. Wu Li's face was filled with intense resentment. He wanted to kill Night Sorrow in the deity group's grand competition to avenge Wu Yu. Of course I won't go back on my word. Night Sorrow looked fearlessly at Wu Li, who was collecting Wu Yu's corpse. Since you won't go back on your word, I will lend you a hand and help you break through to the supreme deity level. You are the virtuous feather god, right? Enjoy. At this moment, Wu Li suddenly roared and took out a golden fruit from his spatial artifact and threw it at Night Sorrow. What is this? Night Sorrow instinctively wanted to dodge, but before he could do anything, the golden fruit turned into merit and wrapped around his body. In an instant, Night Sorrow's merit energy, with the help of the golden fruit, directly broke through to the supreme deity level. Forget it. So be it. I won't take first place in the 7-sect grand competition. Feeling the surge of merit energy in his body, Night Sorrow knew that it was a very good choice for him to break through to the supreme deity level now. Using merit to prove one's Tao was the path he planned to take in the future. Ha! Let's see how you will take first place in the Feather God group after breaking through to the supreme deity level. Wu Li sneered when he saw Night Sorrow sitting on the ground and preparing to break through. At this moment, Lu Qingyuan and the others rushed over and drove Wu Li away to protect Night Sorrow. They were afraid that he would be disturbed or attacked if he broke through in public. Night Sorrow, can't you wait until we return to the station to break through? Lu Qingyuan, who had driven Wu Li away, asked. He felt that breaking through and transcending the tribulation in such an environment would definitely be greatly disturbed. It's a blessing in disguise. Yi Shang only said these words before he swallowed a pill to break through to the high deity level in both his body and soul. He had a deep foundation and had accumulated enough strength in the feather god realm. It did not take much effort for him to break through. At this moment, the thunder tribulation energy body appeared. Tribulation failed. Tribulation failed. Tribulation failed. When they saw Yi Shang's tribulation lightning energy avatar appear, the many spectating disciples of the Pure Sky sect all began to shout even though they didn't attack. They hated the fact that Night Sorrow had killed Wu Yu. In their hearts, Wu Yu was a role model, a legend, and an object of worship. But now, he had become a corpse. This made many Tianqing Gate disciples furious. Tianqing Gate's Gate Master Tan Qingfeng, Deputy Gate Master Liang Shijun, and Grand Elder Fan Xianyun were also gnashing their teeth in hatred. However, Tan Qingfeng had seen Ruler Qingyin fight the Dark Moon Ruler for Night Sorrow. He did not dare to do anything underhanded. He also stopped Grand Elder Fan Xianyun, who was about to attack. But that thing has already been taken by him. How can we take it back? Grand Elder Fan Xianyun, who was stopped by Tan Qingfeng, looked at Night Sorrow with murderous eyes. Clearly, the thing Night Sorrow had just taken from Wu Yu was not ordinary. Don't worry, Grand Elder. I have a way to solve this problem. Tan Qingfeng promised. In fact, he wanted to use Yao Shi to exchange for the Tianqing Gate's secret treasure. Seeing that Night Sorrow had chosen the path of merit, he was sure that Night Sorrow would not disregard the life of his friend for a secret treasure. Fail? Ha, ha, no way. In addition, I would like to thank Tianqing Gate. Night Sorrow stood up amidst the boos. His eyes were shining with incomparable confidence. He had a temperament of harmony with his body and Tao. After saying this, he rose into the air and fought with the Thunder Tribulation energy body. Facing the Thunder Tribulation energy body, Night Sorrow was different from when he had broken through to the immortal state. He showed no signs of exhaustion. He used all kinds of methods, ready to kill it directly. As the battle progressed, everyone could see that this was not a good choice. The strength of the Thunder Tribulation energy body was similar to that of Night Sorrow. If this battle continued, he would be greatly injured. However, Night Sorrow stubbornly fought the Thunder Tribulation energy body head-on. Can he really survive the Thunder Tribulation like this? Chapter 2595. Ever since he started cultivating, Lu Qingyuan had never seen a cultivator as stubborn as Night Sorrow. There was clearly a simple method to transcend the tribulation, but he chose the most extreme and violent method instead of using it. What he didn't know was that Yi Shang was doing this for two reasons. First, he wanted to use the most domineering way to transcend the tribulation and slap everyone in the Tianqing society in the face. Second, he wanted to show Tan Qingfeng the secret treasure he had just obtained. He wanted to use the secret treasure to exchange for Yao Shi's safety. For Night Sorrow, secret treasures were easy to obtain, but friends were hard to come by. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow was seriously injured. At this time, the disciples of Tianqing Gate were already cheering for the Thunder Tribulation. Si Kongxiang, Mei Ruoxue, and the other disciples of Tianyun School who were watching the fight clenched their fists and prayed for the Thunder Tribulation. Tianqing Millstone. Activate. The power of heaven and earth is mine to use. Just when Night Sorrow was seriously injured and looked like he might die, he suddenly activated the Tianqing Millstone. Just like Wu Yu in the fight, his injuries were instantly healed and his primordial spirit was replenished. In fact, when Wu Yu used this move, Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to determine what was going on. He didn't rely on his own ability, but on the Tianqing Millstone. Therefore, when Wu Yu threatened him with Yao Shi, Night Sorrow chose to refuse without thinking. He knew that as long as he killed Wu Yu and obtained the Tianqing Millstone, the people of Tianqing Gate would definitely give in. Bastard! I, Fan Xianyun, will find a chance to kill you. Seeing Knight Sorrow use the Tianqing millstone to pass the tribulation with the help of the power of heaven and earth of Tianqing Gate's Taishang elder Fan Xianyun was furious. However, he didn't dare to make a move in front of everyone. In about 4 hours, Knight Sorrow defeated the Lightning Tribulation energy clone and officially broke through to become a lesser great deity. After the breakthrough, not only did Knight Sorrow's aura become much stronger, but his movements also had a special charm. The backlash from the power of virtue had also completely disappeared. His strength had increased qualitatively. If he were to fight with Wuyo again, Knight Sorrow would be able to kill him in one move without any suspense. Knight Sorrow, who had just finished transcending his tribulation, slowly landed on the ground. The results of the other groups had already been announced. In the civil war at Tianyun School, Yan Zheng was more skillful and successfully gave the victory to Ho Qingshan, which made the other party unhappy. Shangshu Yan, on the other hand, had displayed her formidable strength in the battle against Yan Jifei. She had easily defeated her opponent. Her battle prowess was not any weaker than Wuyo's. As for the last group, Ao Qingsong from the Heavenly Star Pavilion was seriously injured and almost died. In the end, he succeeded in eliminating Wen Tianhe. As a result, he lost the ability to participate in the next round. Knight Sorrow had withdrawn from the Seven Sects tournament because he had broken through to become a great deity. Ho Qingshan and Ao Qingsong had both lost the ability to fight. The championship was already in Shangshu Yan's bag. Ha, Knight Sorrow, congratulations on taking the first step and becoming a great deity. You may be the God Realm cultivator who has occupied the first place for the shortest time. Shangshu Yan, who had already won the Seven Sects tournament, immediately went to congratulate Knight Sorrow after he finished his breakthrough. Ha! I should congratulate you for becoming the first place on the God Realm list and winning the Seven Sects tournament, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Isn't it because of your withdrawal? You owe me a favor, and now we're even. You don't say. Occupying the first place on the God Realm list and winning the Seven Sects tournament at the same time feels good. No wonder Wuyu tried so hard to defeat you. Shangshu Yan's face was full of smiles. Although she said that, she didn't seem to care too much about it. She came from the Shangshu family, where ruler Voiceless was from, so she didn't care much about fame. We're even now, but Knight Sorrow can't forget that you saved my life. If you hadn't given me ruler Voiceless divine talisman, I would have been crippled or killed by the gate master of the Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng. Knight Sorrow looked at Shangshu Yan and said seriously. You're talking about that. Actually, you're the one at a disadvantage. The divine talisman I got was extremely powerful, while the one you got only contained a projection of the ruler. Shangshu Yan smiled and continued, if you guys from the Tianyun school don't have anything else to do, I would like to invite you to the Tianxian sect tonight so that we can celebrate together. What do you think? At the same time, I would like to introduce you to the senior sisters of the Great Deity Group. When the Great Deity Group competition starts, we can all support each other. So, do you want to go or not? Upon hearing this, Knight Sorrow looked at Lu Qingyuan, Si Kongxiang and the other Tianyun school disciples. He was prepared to meet the great deity experts, but he still needed to ask for everyone's opinion. I'm going. Of course I'm going. Si Kongxiang was the first to answer Knight Sorrow. He answered without hesitation. Si Kongxiang, you answered so straightforwardly. Are you interested in a female disciple of the Tianxian sect? Mei Ruoshua had a puzzled look on her face when she saw Si Kongxiang rush to answer. The two of them had been childhood sweethearts, but after entering the sect, the two of them seemed to have opened the door to a new world. They had tacitly walked out of that state of mind back then. I think that the young lady I met in the first round was very otherworldly. She suits my taste. Si Kongxiang said without the slightest shyness. Shangshu Yan turned to look at him when she heard this. Ha, I can set you up later. Si Kongxiang, thank you, senior sister Shangshu. Si Kongxiang saluted her with cupped fists. Look at you, you look like a lecherous hungry ghost. His appearance attracted a burst of ridicule from Mei Ruoxue. Everyone burst into laughter. Knight Sorrow locked his gaze on Tan Qingfeng. He sent a telepathic message, release Yaoshi within 2 hours. Otherwise, the Tianqing Gate will lose the Tianqing Millstone forever. Everyone was celebrating tonight. Knight Sorrow didn't want Yaoshi to be the only one missing. Ha! Knight Sorrow, you have proven your Tao through merit. You are indeed loyal to your friends. Alright, I'll order someone to bring Yaoshi here. Tan Qingfeng, who had originally wanted to talk to Knight Sorrow about the Tianqing Millstone, raised his eyebrows when he heard Knight Sorrow's voice transmission. His face lit up with joy. The Tianqing Millstone was useless elsewhere. However, if it was used in the Tianqing Gate area, it could trigger the power of heaven and earth. It was very important to the Tianqing Gate, so it couldn't be lost. Alright, let's wait for Yaoshi to come over before we discuss the terms of the exchange. Knight Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Tan Qingfeng before he turned around and continued chatting with Shangshu Yan. Tan Qingfeng's face darkened when he heard this. He knew that Knight Sorrow was going to ask for an exorbitant price. However, although he was displeased, the importance of the Tianqing Millstone was self-evident. He didn't retort. Instead, he began to think about his bargaining chips. After Yaoshi was brought over, Tan Qingfeng sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. Tell me, what else do you want? The Tianqing Millstone is important, but don't ask for an exorbitant price. Otherwise, I won't agree. I don't want much. I just want pills, Knight Sorrow replied casually. What pills? Chapter 2596. I need 10 pills that can help a cultivator ascend to the upper god level. Knight Sorrow said. He was going to participate in the upper god competition, not to get beaten up, but to improve his strength as quickly as possible. Others could ascend to the upper god level with just 1 pill, but Knight Sorrow felt that he needed at least 5 pills. 10 pills would be safer. My Clear Sky sect does have pills that can allow a high god to advance directly. However, these pills are extremely rare and I can't take out 10 of them. I can give you 3 of them. Knight Sorrow's request was very rare. Tianyun School didn't have it, but Tianqing Gate did. However, Tan Qingfeng couldn't bear to give out 10 pills at once, so he started to bargain. Tan Qingfeng, you know that I'm a man of my word. If I say 10 pills, then 10 pills. Knight Sorrow didn't give in at all. Without 10 pills, there's no need to talk about the Tianqing Millstone. Knight Sorrow wants 10 dragon blood limit breaking pills. Vice Headmaster, Grand Elder Fan, what do you think? Tan Qingfeng didn't answer Knight Sorrow immediately. Instead, he discussed with Liang Shijun and Grand Elder Fan Xianyun. At first, Fan Xianyun's attitude was very tough, but the 3 of them felt that the Tianqing Millstone was more valuable, so they chose to compromise. In the end, Tan Qingfeng took 10 dragon blood limit breaking pills from the sect's treasury and handed them to Knight Sorrow personally. Knight Sorrow was very satisfied with the 10 dragon blood limit breaking pills after rescuing Yaoshi. However, he had just ascended to the lower god level and hadn't consolidated his power yet, so he couldn't take them immediately. That night, Knight Sorrow and the others from Tianyun School all went to the Tianyun School's banquet. On the way, Ao Qingsong and Yuntiani brought their people from the Heavenly Star Pavilion and infiltrated the Tianyun School's team. They said that they wanted the exalted gods of the 3 sects to get familiar with each other. In fact, they were plotting against the fairies of the Tianxian sect. This was how Knight Sorrow got to know the 5 high gods of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. They were Zhuang Yuhe, ranked 4th on the upper god list, Zhen Xiang, ranked 12th, Lu Yifan, ranked 26th, Yuan Feng, ranked 28th, and Situ Qingming, ranked 33rd. With Yun Tianyi and Ao Qingsong taking the lead, everyone got along well. When they arrived at the Heaven Immortal sect, Night Sorrow, as the leader of this matter, was also the center of attention. Everyone drank happily. The 5 high god experts of the Heavenly Immortal sect also got along well with Night Sorrow, especially Murong Kai Yi, who was ranked 5th on the high god list. She appreciated him very much. Shengshu Yan had even tried to matchmake the two of them, but Night Sorrow was a married man. Naturally, he wouldn't fall in love with each other, so he tactfully avoided this matter. 3 days later, the Feather God clan competition of the 7 sects began again. In the end, Night Sorrow advanced to the High God realm and directly won 4th place. Ao Qingsong was ranked 3rd, and Ho Qingshan dramatically won 2nd place. The champion was naturally Shengshu Yan. The results of the 7 sects. Tianyun School won 1st place, Heavenly Immortal sect was ranked 2nd, Heavenly Star Pavilion was ranked 3rd, Heavenly Martial Pavilion was ranked 4th, Tianqin Gate was ranked 5th, Soaring Heaven sect was ranked 6th, and Tianxian School was ranked last. Shengshu Yan, who won the individual championship, received the blessing of the Heavenly Cloud Continent's origin source. Tianyun School received the blessing of the Heavenly Cloud Continent's origin source. In addition, everyone who won the rankings received more generous rewards. Apart from the Heavenly Immortal sect and the Heavenly Star Pavilion, all the other clans hated the fact that the Tianyun clan, which had always ranked last, had managed to make a comeback. They wanted to teach the Tianyun clan a lesson during the competition. Night Sorrow, you've won face for Tianyun School. This is the reward you deserve. The competition of the Feather Gods group had come to an end, and the competition of the High Gods group would take place in 7 days. Back at the encampment, Divine King Zhuang Qing was in a good mood. He immediately went to find Yi Shang and gave him an ultimate technique, as well as his many years of cultivation experience. The name of the technique was Azure Rock Soul Rending Roar. It could transform divine origin energy and soul energy into a roar to attack a cultivator's soul. As for the cultivation experience, Night Sorrow needed it. Thank you, Grand Elder Zhuang. Night Sorrow didn't refuse the Divine King Zhuang Qing's reward. After thanking him, he said, Night Sorrow will work hard in the High God group and win glory for Tianyun School. The battle between the High Gods will be a trial mode. It will be very dangerous. You've just become a High God, so you don't have to risk your life. If you feel that something is wrong, just crush your identity crystal and you'll be teleported out of the secret realm. Remember, ensuring your safety is the most important thing. The Divine King Zhuang Qing had high hopes for Night Sorrow, and his words were full of concern. Grand Elder Zhuang, can you tell Night Sorrow about the secret realm and the rules of the High God group competition? Night Sorrow had decided to participate in the High God group competition at the last minute, so he didn't know the rules. According to past experience, it's a test of the High Gods to see who can survive until the end. When you first enter the secret realm, you can move around in a large area. Most of you will only encounter the creatures in the secret realm, but as time goes by, the area you can move around in will gradually shrink, and then you'll have to fight fiercely. The Divine King Zhuang Qing explained, then continued, generally speaking, there are only 2 rules to determine the rankings. It's either to see who survives until the end, or to see how many points you have. It depends on how the judges set it. God King, I already know about this matter. If there's nothing else, I'll enter the spatial artifact to consolidate my cultivation. Night Sorrow had just become a high god, so he only had 7 days to consolidate his cultivation. Time was tight, and he didn't want to waste any time. All right. Cultivation needs to be done step by step. Don't rush ahead just for the competition. The divine king Zhuang Qing left after saying that, and returned to Lu Qingyuan's spatial artifact. Night Sorrow completely entered a state of cultivation. In the spatial artifact, he first mastered the immortal mantra's high god level, then calmed down and began to cultivate. After 2 years of cultivation, Night Sorrow had completely consolidated his cultivation as a low god. This was an extremely fast speed. Moreover, he had successfully learned the green rock's soul-rending roar that the divine king Zhuang Qing had given him. When he finished cultivating and came out of the spatial artifact, Lu Qingyuan immediately asked with concern, "Night Sorrow, how's your cultivation?" "I've stabilized my cultivation, but I haven't fought, so I don't know where I stand on the high god list." Night Sorrow explained, "If I can spar with a few of the high god list experts in the sect, I'll definitely have a better understanding of my strength. Even so, there's no time. We need to hurry to the competition venue." Lu Qingyuan shrugged helplessly. If they didn't go now, Tianyun School would definitely miss the high god group competition. "If that's the case, then I'll participate." Night Sorrow nodded and didn't dwell on the matter any longer. He hurried to the competition venue with the Tianyun School group. Chapter 2597. The battle between the high gods will take place in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. After the 35 contestants arrived, the vice-sect master of Tianqin Gate, Liang Shijun, immediately announced the location. He then continued, "The 35 contestants will appear in the secret realm at random. When you land, you may encounter the creatures in the secret realm or opponents from other sections. What you need to do is not only to survive the attacks of the creatures in the secret realm, but also to defeat your opponents and gain points. The more points you have, the higher your ranking." Liang Shijun looked at Night Sorrow and the others and said, "The 35 of you will be awarded points based on your ranking on the Feather God list. Defeating the first-ranked contestant will give you 35 points, and so on. Defeating the 35th-ranked contestant will give you 1 point. The battle will last for a month. Every day, your area of activity will be reduced. If you stay outside the designated area, you will be directly teleported out of the secret realm and lose the right to compete." Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Liang Shijun recounted the other details. For example, the contestants must wear an image crystal and a teleportation crystal. Crushing the teleportation crystal could directly teleport them out of the secret realm. After Liang Shijun finished, everyone began to pay attention to the contestants' rankings. Night Sorrow was only in the 80s on the high gods list, so he was in the 35th place, which was the last place. He was only worth 1 point. That's good. There's no pressure. Night Sorrow only saw his own name after searching from the beginning to the end. He smiled and began to pay attention to the others. In first place was Tianxian School's Wu Li. He was ranked 3rd on the high gods list and was the strongest among the 7 high gods. In second place were Heavenly Star Pavilion's Zhuang Yuhe and Heavenly Martial Pavilion's Meng Du. They were both ranked 4th on the high gods list. In 4th place was Heavenly Immortal Sect's Murong Tsai. In 5th place was Soaring Heaven Sect's Hua Yunmiao. In 6th place was Tianqin Gate's Tsing Yudi. In Tianyun School, the highest was Mu Qingyu, who was ranked 9th. Overall, Tianyun School and Night Sorrow were the same, ranked last. All in all, the Tianyun clan's score is the last. You can go into battle with ease. Safety is the most important thing. Lu Qingyuan said after looking at the list. He judged that Night Sorrow was invincible in the Divine Feather Realm, but he probably wasn't too outstanding among the exalted gods. Therefore, he didn't have high expectations for everyone. After all, points were not allowed in the high god group. One had to rely on their own strength to defeat their opponents one by one. This way, the suspense would be reduced significantly. Rest assured, Elder Lu. We'll do what we can. But no matter what, Tianyun School, will not place last in this year's competition. There was a tinge of stubbornness on Mu Qingyu's face. Helping Tianyun School get out of the last place was his bottom line. Good. You have ambition. Lu Qingyuan patted Mu Qingyu's shoulder. He looked at Night Sorrow and reminded him, Wu Li, who is ranked first, and Meng Du, who is ranked second, both have a grudge against you. You must be wary of them in the mystic realm. I'll be careful. The mystic realm is so big. We might not meet each other. Even if we do, I'm confident that I can protect myself. Night Sorrow nodded and discussed the gathering and the distress signal with everyone. By the time the 5 of them were ready, the deputy clan master of the Tianqin clan, Liang Shijun, had just summoned 35 contestants to the teleportation array. They bade farewell to the people of the Tianyun clan and got up to rush towards the teleportation array. Night Sorrow had just arrived at the teleportation array when Wu Li's cold gaze swept over him. He said coldly, if we meet, you won't even have the chance to crush the teleportation crystal. The hostility and murderous aura on his body made many people unconsciously retreat. It was very powerful. In the face of Wu Li's threat, Night Sorrow pointed at his fist and said, the heavenly realm speaks with their fists, not their mouths. You'd better remember this. Haha. Trash, who is ranked 35th, do you think you'll have a chance to turn the tables when you meet me? The heavenly realm speaks with strength, not wishful thinking. Wu Li, who was already a peak high god, was full of disdain in the face of Night Sorrow, a lesser high god. Night Sorrow, don't be afraid of him. I'll be on your side. When the time comes, we'll beat him up together. At this time, Zhuang Yuhe of Heavenly Martial Pavilion stood out with a look of contempt. It was obvious that he was not afraid of Wu Li at all. How can a loser be brave? Wu Li, who had once defeated Zhuang Yuhe, had a contemptuous smile on his face. The 2 of them were the top existences among the high gods of the 7 sections. They were relatively arrogant and neither of them was willing to submit to the other. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Wu Li, this time I'll defeat you. Zhuang Yuhe's mouth had a contemptuous smile, but the battle intent on his body had completely erupted. I don't care what's going on with you. But I must kill Night Sorrow. Heavenly Martial Pavilion's Meng Du slowly walked over. His hatred for Night Sorrow was comparable to Wu Li's. After personally witnessing Night Sorrow melting the Heavenly Marshal's soul battle spear and Yan Fangling being dragged into the inner cabin by Lu Qingyuan, he already had a knot in his heart. Being targeted by the 1st and 2nd place, this Night Sorrow is really miserable. He'll probably be slapped to death once he enters. Seeing that Night Sorrow was being threatened by the 2 experts, many people began to discuss through voice transmission. Wu Li and Zhuang Yuhe were too strong, so they did not dare to speak too much for fear of attracting trouble. At this time, Wu Li's face was filled with killing intent as he announced, after entering the secret realm, whoever finds Night Sorrow and notifies me will be rewarded with 20 points. 20 points was equivalent to defeating the 15th ranked participant. This immediately attracted the attention of many people. After all, the total points were only 630. Considering that the experts would snatch a lot of points, an ordinary participant would at least be able to secure a middle ranking by obtaining 20 points. Those who originally had nothing to do with Night Sorrow looked at him, memorizing his face and aura. Seeing that Wu Li's method was effective, Meng Du's face was filled with killing intent as he said, Meng Du, will give the same reward as Wu Li. You guys should worry about whether you can obtain 20 points in this trip. Facing the aggressive Wu Li and Meng Du, Night Sorrow disdainfully replied. He did not put their threats in his eyes. In fact, after seeing the Dark Moon Ruler, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. Naturally, he would not fear Wu Li and Meng Du who were at the same level. Let's wait and see. Wu Li said and stood beside Night Sorrow, as if he wanted to be the closest to him to teleport. I hope we can teleport to the same place. This way, we can save the trouble of finding you. Mengdu also stood by Yishan's side and threatened. Mengdu, you and Yan Jifei are both blindly confident and will suffer a great loss. Do you really think that I, Night Sorrow, am a soft persimmon that you can pinch as you wish? Chapter 2598. Ha! Whether he is a pushover or not, I, Mengdu, will know after giving it a try. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mengdu laughed heartily. He then looked at Wu Li and said, Wu Li, why don't we make a bet? Oh. What bet? Wu Li glanced at Mengdu. If you kill Night Sorrow first, I will give you 300,000 divine crystals. Otherwise, you will give me the same amount. How about that? Mengdu looked as if he was certain that he would win against Night Sorrow. Good. I like this bet. Wu Li, whose body was overflowing with killing intent, squeezed out a cold smile from the corner of his mouth. Night Sorrow, who had scoffed at the two of them, completely ignored them. Don't worry too much. The Heavenly Immortal Sect and I will fight alongside you. At this time, Murong-Tsai transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow, stating the position of the Heavenly Immortal Sect in her. Night Sorrow, whose heart was warmed, replied, perhaps we can properly scheme against them inside. The hatred they have for me can easily cause them to fall into an irrecoverable situation. Although they are strong, the result of fighting in a different environment may be very different. Good. Once we are inside, we will make a good plan with the people of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Murong-Tsai replied and gave Night Sorrow the contact method of the Heavenly Immortal Sect. The members of the Heavenly Immortal Sect were all women, so their sense of danger was relatively strong. Their means of communication were very secretive. Soon after, Night Sorrow, who had also said the secret signal of the Tianyun school, also exchanged a call for help with the people of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. When Liang Shijun announced that the teleportation array was about to begin, everyone's attention shifted from Night Sorrow to her face. Looking at the contestants, Liang Shijun revealed a trace of a playful smile and said, let me remind everyone that among the creatures in the secret realm, there is a half-step divine king. If you want to survive and obtain points, it won't be easy. Finally, I wish you all the best in coming out alive. After saying this, Liang Shijun activated the teleportation array. A dazzling light flashed, and the 35 people in the teleportation array were all teleported to the secret realm. A moment later, Night Sorrow's figure appeared in an area of surging lava. Although this place was very barren, there were strange trees growing on the limited land. These trees seemed to be made of fine iron, and their skin emitted a metallic luster. There were insect-like beasts among the trees. These exotic beasts were basically fighting each other. Clearly, they were very bloodthirsty. Night Sorrow looked around and did not see any other contestants. Then, he activated the sea serpent's eye. Looking around, Night Sorrow immediately saw a gigantic fire attribute earth dragon in a lava swamp. Judging from his aura, he should be a half-step divine king. Oh whoa! Just as Night Sorrow's attention was focused on the earth dragon, it looked over and flew out of the swamp, spraying a mouthful of flames at Night Sorrow. A half-step divine king class earth dragon. Seeing this earth dragon fly out of the lava swamp, Night Sorrow did not hesitate to use the void extreme shadow body and retreat. He was 6 stages away from the half-step divine king. Moreover, he had just entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm and was not familiar with the environment. Naturally, he would not try to challenge it. Trespassers shall die. Night Sorrow fled in front, and the earth dragon behind him roared and spat out flames again. These flames were very different from the ones it had just spat out. The temperature was much higher, and Night Sorrow was not burned. However, he felt his divine soul tremble, and it was very uncomfortable. Even the blue phoenix battle armor could not block these flames. Ha ha ha. Night Sorrow actually encountered a half-step Divine King-class Earth Dragon as soon as he entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Looks like he will die in the hands of this Earth Dragon even without Meng Du's help. In the Tianqing Gate, Meng Yi, the leader of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, was watching Night Sorrow's movements through the image crystal. When he saw Night Sorrow being chased by the Earth Dragon, he immediately laughed. Being targeted by a half-step Divine King-class Earth Dragon, he is dead for sure. Yan Jifei, who was standing beside Meng Yi, gritted his teeth and muttered. His hatred for Night Sorrow was much deeper than Meng Du's. Hearing them talk about Night Sorrow in such a way, Lu Qingyuan immediately said unhappily, "What nonsense are you talking about? Don't use your short-sighted eyes to judge a super genius, okay? Otherwise, you will be mocked by others if your view is too low." What? Do you think Night Sorrow can survive the pursuit of this half-step Divine King-class Earth Dragon? Meng Yi asked with a cold smile. Yes. That's right, so what? Lu Qingyuan asked with an unhappy expression. Since you think so, why don't we make a bet? I bet that Night Sorrow will be killed by this Earth Dragon. Meng Yi looked at Lu Qingyuan, his face full of provocation. Seeing him like this, Lu Qingyuan sneered and asked, "What do you want to bet on?" "I am old enough, and I don't want any more concubines." You. Hearing this, Meng Yi flew into a rage. After thinking for a while, he said, "This time, whoever loses will kneel here in front of everyone until the end of the deity group competition. What do you think? Since you want to kneel, I will satisfy you." Lu Qingyuan snorted and agreed. He had endless confidence in Night Sorrow. Okay. It's a deal. Meng Yi said and took the initiative to swear an oath to the Heavenly Tao, afraid that Lu Qingyuan would not cooperate. Then, he fixed his eyes on the image of Night Sorrow again. Can this flame burn the divine soul? This is good stuff. Night Sorrow, who was fleeing, had no idea what was going on outside. He felt that these flames were rare and good stuff. If he could collect some, it would be of great use when dealing with Wu Li and Meng Du. However, the problem was how to get it. Because just collecting the flames spat out by the Earth Dragon would not be ideal. He needed the fire origin. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said to the half-step Divine King Earth Dragon behind him, "I want to exchange for some fire origin. Can you think about it? You can state your conditions." Roar. You want to snatch the fire origin? Die. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the originally violent Earth Dragon was completely enraged and spat out flames again. It is absolutely impossible to obtain the fire origin through this Earth Dragon. It seems that the only way is to lead it away, return here, and try my luck in the lava swamp. The half-step Divine King was not the real Divine King after all. While fleeing, Night Sorrow took out the materials in his spatial artifact and started to set up a trap array, preparing to trap the Earth Dragon for a while. Night Sorrow, who had used the Void Extreme Shadow Body, quickly finished setting up the trap array and trapped the Earth Dragon. Amidst the Earth Dragon's furious roar, Night Sorrow left the range of the trap array and headed straight for the lava swamp. Ha! The Earth Dragon has been trapped by the trap array. Even if Night Sorrow leaves leisurely, he will not be caught. Meng Yi, hurry up and kneel. Don't be embarrassed. Anyway, you people from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion are shameless. Seeing Night Sorrow use the trap array to trap the Earth Dragon, Lu Qingyuan immediately laughed and looked at Meng Yi. This, Meng Yi, who was watching the image, had an awkward expression. He had not expected Night Sorrow to be able to set up such a powerful trap array. Chapter 2599. Night Sorrow hasn't completely left. There's still a chance he'll be killed by the Earth Dragon. I haven't lost yet. Just as Meng Yi had made up his mind and was about to kneel in the plaza, he saw Night Sorrow return to the lava swamp and jump in. What is Night Sorrow planning to do? Did he discover something good in the lava swamp? Lu Qingyuan, who had also seen Night Sorrow jump into the lava swamp, muttered in confusion. This lava is so hot. There must be a fire attribute treasure below. Perhaps it's the fire origin I'm looking for. Night Sorrow, who was completely unaware of the bet between Lu Qingyuan and Mang Yi, immediately felt his entire body burn uncomfortably after jumping into the lava. The lava here was very hot, almost as hot as the flames used by divine-level alchemists to refine pills. Night Sorrow didn't see a single living creature as he dove down. The lower he went, the higher the temperature became. In the end, he had no choice but to use the 33 Heaven secret combat technique to increase his strength tenfold to barely withstand the heat. He had been using his divine sense to investigate and the sea serpent's eye to observe his surroundings. He quickly found the reason why the lava swamp was so hot. It turned out that at the bottom of the swamp, there was a massive, fiery red feather. This fiery red feather was several hundred feet long. As he approached, Night Sorrow felt an apocalyptic heat rush towards him. With such a high temperature, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to store it in a spatial artifact. This massive, fiery red feather was definitely something good, but Night Sorrow began to worry that it would be very difficult to store it. Ancestral Phoenix Feather. Night Sorrow found an ancestral phoenix feather. The divine King Zhuangqing, who was hiding in Lu Qingyuan's spatial artifact but was also watching Night Sorrow's situation, suddenly shouted. The ancestral phoenix, also known as the phoenix ancestor, was the ancestor of the phoenix race. The feather in front of Night Sorrow was one that had fallen off. Ancestral phoenix feather, is that a ruler-level material? Lu Qingyuan asked excitedly upon hearing the divine King Zhuangqing's voice transmission. It's an excellent fire attribute material. Night Sorrow's luck was too deep. You can even find such a rare treasure. The divine King Zhuangqing's face was filled with envy. He felt that Night Sorrow's luck was simply heavenly. Ancestral Phoenix Feather. At this moment, the gate master of Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng, also noticed the situation with Night Sorrow. After confirming that Night Sorrow had found the ancestral phoenix feather, he said to Lu Qingyuan, the divine cloud realm belongs to Tianqing Gate. When Night Sorrow comes out, he must return the ancestral phoenix feather to Tianqing Gate. Return. In the history of the Seven-Sect Grand Tournament, all the fortuitous encounters obtained in the secret zones belong to the participants. Why should Night Sorrow give something that he found to Tianqing Gate? Lu Qingyuan replied unhappily. He felt that Tan Qingfeng was really shameless. Tianqing men, will give him appropriate compensation. However, we must have this ancestral phoenix feather. Tan Qingfeng's face was filled with greed. He wanted to use this ancestral phoenix feather to refine a divine weapon that was close to the ruler level. However, Tan Qingfeng's face darkened as soon as he finished speaking. This was because he saw Night Sorrow fuse the ancestral phoenix feather into the Samsara halberd. In fact, Night Sorrow did this because he had no other choice. The temperature of the feather was too high. It was as if it could melt everything in the world. It was impossible to store it in a spatial device. He could only fuse it into the Samsara halberd and try to increase its fire attribute. What a waste! Night Sorrow fused the ancestral phoenix feather into the Samsara halberd. It's a complete waste. It can't be used to its full potential. Tan Qingfeng was so angry that he was fuming. The ancestral phoenix feather could be used as the main material to refine a king-level divine weapon that was close to the ruler level. However, Night Sorrow had used it as a supplementary material to fuse it into the divine lord-level Samsara halberd. He was so jealous that he was going crazy. Great! After fusing it with the ancestral phoenix feather, the effect will be increased by more than 100 times. Night Sorrow, who had successfully upgraded the Samsara halberd, was very satisfied. After leaving the flaming swamp, he tested the Inferno demon and felt that the power of this move was even greater than the Samsara strike. Oh no! The Earth Dragon has escaped. I have to leave this area. At this moment, Night Sorrow sensed that the trap array had been broken. He immediately used the Void Extreme Shadow Body and flew into the distance. By the time the half-step god King Earth Dragon returned, Yishang had already arrived at a simple and unadorned forest. Ha ha ha. Meng Yi, can you kneel now? Seeing that Night Sorrow had completely left this area, Lu Qingyuan smiled and looked at Meng Yi. Our bet hasn't ended yet. Why should I kneel? Meng Yi sneered and said, I can't see the Earth Dragon in the image now. However, I think that the ancestral phoenix feather is gone. The Earth Dragon will definitely go crazy looking for it. Sooner or later, it will find Night Sorrow and kill him. I say, aren't you a little too shameless? According to what you said, as long as you don't see Night Sorrow kill the Earth Dragon, you won't kneel? Lu Qingyuan asked disdainfully. Of course. Meng Yi said with a smile and a proud look. I can't be bothered with a despicable person like you. Lu Qingyuan fixed his gaze on Night Sorrow's image again. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was walking in the ancient forest, suddenly stopped in his tracks. What happened to Night Sorrow? Seeing this scene, Lu Qingyuan couldn't help but worry. The rest of the people from Tianyun School also looked serious. They were very worried for Night Sorrow. He must have encountered an unexpected situation. At this moment, Yan Jifei of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion pointed at the image of Ning Ziyuan. He reminded Meng Yi, Elder Meng, Night Sorrow has fallen into the formation set up by Senior Ning Ziyuan. Lu Qingyuan heard this and immediately looked over. He saw Ning Ziyuan of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion hiding in the concealment formation behind a tree. He was staring at Night Sorrow maliciously. He was ranked 20th among the 35 people and was good at setting up formations. Seeing this scene, Lu Qingyuan and the rest of the people from Tianyun School were all worried for Night Sorrow. Ha ha ha. Night Sorrow, I didn't expect you to fall into my trap formation. Now, you just wait for Senior Meng Du to arrive. I've already sent him a signal and received a response. After making sure that Night Sorrow had completely fallen into the trap formation, Ning Ziyuan walked out of the concealment formation and said proudly. Although your trap formation is only at the high god level, it's not bad. It's worth learning from. Night Sorrow, who was in the trap formation, smiled. He easily broke the trap formation and walked out. He had the eye of the sea serpent. How could he not see through Ning Ziyuan's trap formation and his concealment formation? He pretended to be trapped because he wanted to use Ning Ziyuan, who was wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, to lure Meng Du over. Before Meng Du entered the secret territory, he had already angered Night Sorrow. Naturally, he wouldn't sit still and wait for his death. He was ready to take the initiative to attack. Now that Ning Ziyuan had admitted that he had sent a signal to Meng Du and received a response, Night Sorrow didn't stay in the trap formation. How is this possible? Ning Ziyuan had a look of disbelief on his face as Night Sorrow easily broke through the trapping array he had set up. I can even set up a senior god level trap formation. How can I be trapped by your high god level trap formation? Chapter 2600. Night Sorrow. Don't think that you can continue to dominate the high gods just because you're invincible in the Feather God group. I, Ning Ziyuan, am ranked 20th, 15 places higher than you. I'm not afraid of you in terms of strength. Ning Ziyuan, who was a little flustered, calmed down when he thought of Night Sorrow's ranking and the fact that he had just broken through to the high god level. After all, he was an invincible high god ranked in the top 20 of the Feather God list. He had been a high god for countless years and had already stabilized his cultivation base. Ranked 20th, worth 15 points. Very good. Just nice, I can test my strength. Yishang looked at Ning Ziyuan with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. After advancing to the lower high god level, he had not experienced any battles yet. He felt that Ning Ziyuan, who was ranked in the middle, was just right to be his first opponent. He should be able to test his strength. At the same time, Night Sorrow released his signal, hoping to get a response from the others to deal with Meng Du together. Shameless boasting. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of Elder Yen and Senior Brother Mang. Unfortunately, you're only worth 1 point. Ning Ziyuan gradually calmed down and stopped thinking about Night Sorrow's fame and his identity as the Merit High God. He took out the Heavenly Feather Azure sword that was protecting him and roared as he used his ultimate skill. Heavenly Feather Dragon Slaying Sword. Facing Ning Ziyuan's Heavenly Feather Dragon Slaying Sword, Night Sorrow activated the Sea Serpent's Eye. Seeing the trajectory of the attack, he took out the Reincarnation Halberd and faced it. Bam! Night Sorrow did not use his ultimate skill or spear art, but he still sent Ning Ziyuan flying. The Reincarnation Halberd had been strengthened by the Divine King's Spear and the Ancestral Phoenix's Feather. It was no longer comparable to an ordinary Divine Lord weapon. What? He's so strong. That's impossible. He just advanced to the high god level. How can he be so strong? Ning Ziyuan, who had been sent flying by Yishang's one move and was injured, had an extremely ugly expression. He knew that Yishang had not used any of his ultimate techniques at all. He had only relied on the strength of his body to make him suffer. After pondering for a moment, Ning Ziyuan locked his gaze onto Night Sorrow's Heavenly Samsara Halberd and thought to himself, it should be because this halberd is too heaven-defying. Yes, that must be it. But how can I restrain this halberd? Don't hold back and use your ultimate technique. Otherwise, you won't have another chance to attack. Night Sorrow said. He knew that the Samsara halberd had become much more powerful after his successful attack. However, the fact that he could injure Ning Ziyuan was due to his own strength. Even though he had just become a high god, he was definitely stronger than Ning Ziyuan, who was ranked around 20 on the Feather Gods list. He still needed to make some preparations to deal with Meng Du. He didn't want to waste too much time. In the square of Tianqing Gate, Meng Yi, who was watching the battle between Night Sorrow and Ning Ziyuan, looked very gloomy. When he saw Night Sorrow trapped in the array, he thought that Night Sorrow would not be able to escape. He did not expect that not only did Night Sorrow break out of the array easily, but he also had an obvious advantage in the battle. Even though they had only exchanged blows once, Meng Yi could tell that Ning Ziyuan was no match for Night Sorrow. This meant that if nothing unexpected happened, Ning Ziyuan from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion would be the first participant to be eliminated in the deity group. Night Sorrow would temporarily be ranked first in the deity group because no one else had encountered him. Bastard! I personally sent him to the first place in the deity group. This is a great humiliation. Meng Yi gritted his teeth in anger as he stared coldly at the screen. Yan Jifei, who was standing beside him, was deeply hurt. He had mixed feelings when he saw that Night Sorrow, who had participated in the Feather Gods group, was still able to do so easily in the deity group. Ha ha ha. Meng Yi, thank you so much for the gift from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. I, Tianyun School, will temporarily be ranked first in the deity group. Lu Qingyuan teased when he saw Meng Yi's unhappy expression. Meng Yi was furious, but he didn't know how to respond. Lu Qingyuan continued to laugh. Now you're sitting down and not talking. Are you going to say whatever you want when you're kneeling down? He was referring to the bet they had just made. Humph. Meng Yi snorted coldly and still didn't speak. In the end, the 7-sex tournament was still about results. From the looks of it, Night Sorrow from Tianyun School was obviously suppressing Ning Ziyuan from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Whatever he said would be futile. Yan Jifei, now you know that you're a frog at the bottom of a well. Ho Qingshan, who had been beaten up by Yan Jifei, asked when he noticed that Yan Jifei's expression was ugly. Ho Qingshan smiled when he thought of Yan Jifei's arrogance in the past and compared it to now. It's none of your business. Loser. Yan Jifei, who was already in a bad mood, said coldly. I'm second in the 7-sex tournament. What's your rank? Ho Qingshan asked with a smile. Qingshan, don't talk about Jifei in the future. No matter what, he's my nephew. At this time, Lu Qingyuan stopped him. Hearing this, Yan Jifei was so angry that his expression became even worse. He turned his head and looked at the video of the battle between Night Sorrow and Ning Ziyuan. At this time, Night Sorrow had completely suppressed Ning Ziyuan. From the beginning to the end, he didn't use any combat skills or spear arts. Ning Ziyuan, who was getting more and more frightened, had already used all his means. He was best at setting up formations, not fighting. Ning Ziyuan's face was ashen as he was sent flying by Night Sorrow once more. Although he was extremely unwilling, he still took out the teleportation crystal from his spatial magical item and prepared to crush it. At this time, Night Sorrow said, "If you cooperate with me, I'll let you go this time." What is it? Ning Ziyuan will not do anything that will harm the Heavenly Martial Pavilion. Hearing that there was a chance for a turn for the better, Ning Ziyuan was looking forward to it even though he sounded tough. He guessed that if he was eliminated now, he would probably be ranked last. No one could bear this kind of humiliation. It's simple. Lure Mengdu into the formation that I've set up. Night Sorrow, who was pointing the Samsara halberd at Ning Ziyuan, said word by word. If the signal could attract the masters from the Tianyun School, the Heavenly Star Pavilion, or the Heavenly Immortal Sect, Night Sorrow would work together to deal with Mengdu. Otherwise, he was prepared to trap Mengdu in the spirit design and then consider whether he should fight him or just trap him like that. Hearing this, Ning Ziyuan's face turned pale. He said coldly, "Night Sorrow, we both have image crystals. How can I agree to your request in this situation? I choose to give up on this competition. Since you don't want to, I can only attack you." Night Sorrow, who knew that Ning Ziyuan wouldn't agree to this, suddenly used the unique skill that he had learned from the Divine King. Green Rock Soul-Splitting Roar. The Green Rock Soul-Splitting Roar could attack a cultivator's divine soul. Ning Ziyuan, who was attacked, suddenly felt his divine soul tremble. He was obviously distracted. The moment Ning Ziyuan was distracted, Night Sorrow snatched the teleportation crystal from his hand. What do you want? When Ning Ziyuan came back to his senses, he found that the teleportation crystal was already in Night Sorrow's hand. He was so scared that he couldn't speak coherently. He knew that without the teleportation crystal, he would lose the chance to escape from the secret realm. Chapter 2601. You used a trapping formation to ambush me. You only have yourself to blame for ending up like this. Night Sorrow snorted coldly. Lure Mengdu into the trap formation I set up. Otherwise, you can imagine what will happen to you. Ning Ziyuan, who had his teleportation crystal taken away, said the word "I" 3 times in a row but did not say anything else. He was already sweating profusely. One could imagine the panic in his heart. What about you? Do you choose to protect yourself or Mengdu? Night Sorrow, who was holding the Samsara halberd, stared at Ning Ziyuan with a cold gaze. Let me think about it. Ning Ziyuan, who responded, was sweating profusely. Clearly, he was struggling in his heart. Bastard! Night Sorrow, if you dare to harm Ning Ziyuan's life, Meng Yi, will kill you immediately when you come out. Seeing Night Sorrow take away Ning Ziyuan's teleportation crystal, Meng Yi, who was sitting on the chair, stood up angrily. Why are you so fierce? Didn't Meng Du of your Heavenly Martial Pavilion also say that you want to kill my sex Night Sorrow? Moreover, it was Ning Ziyuan who used the trap formation to ambush Night Sorrow first. If he had the upper hand, you can imagine who would be in danger now. I can only say that you Heavenly Martial Pavilion brought this upon yourselves. Lu Qingyuan immediately retorted. The seven-sect grand competition was about strength. There was no prohibition against killing. Everything that happened was normal. Humph. Meng Yi, who knew that he was in the wrong, sat down again with a cold snort. His expression was as ugly as it could be. When Meng Yi sat down, Ning Ziyuan finally thought of what to do. After pondering for a while, he closed his eyes and said, "Do it. Even if I die, I, Ning Ziyuan, will not betray my fellow sect members." Is this your choice? Night Sorrow asked. Yes. Ning Ziyuan, who said this, sounded very determined. Seeing that you still have some backbone, I will spare your life. However, you can't escape punishment. You people from the Heavenly Martial Pavilion are so aggressive. Today, I will spare your life because I, Night Sorrow, am a virtuous person who cherishes life. After saying that, Night Sorrow said coldly, "Use everything you have to exchange for the teleportation crystal." Good. I promise you. Ning Ziyuan, who was already prepared to give up his life, immediately agreed. If he lost the divine artifact and elixir pills, he could still obtain them again. However, if his divine soul was destroyed, he would be done for. Leave your spatial artifacts and your clothes behind. Including the bun. Night Sorrow said as he looked at Ning Ziyuan. Ning Ziyuan had planned to trap Night Sorrow and bring Meng Du over. This was no different from taking his life. Although he didn't want to kill, he wouldn't let Ning Ziyuan off so easily. He did this to teach Ning Ziyuan a lesson and also to slap the Heavenly Martial Pavilion in the face. This was the price they had to pay for provoking Tianyun School. Night Sorrow knew that many people in the square of Tianqin Gate were watching. What? You're humiliating me. I'd rather die than comply. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ning Ziyuan's face turned red. He knew that if he took off his clothes now, he would be seen by everyone in the square of Tianqin Gate. Not only would he be humiliated, but his sect would be as well. If you don't comply, then die. Night Sorrow didn't have the mood to talk nonsense with Ning Ziyuan. He raised the Samsara halberd and was ready to attack. He had already done his best. If Ning Ziyuan still didn't accept it, then he would kill him directly. No. I'll do it. Don't do it, don't do it. The Samsara halberd glowed. Ning Ziyuan, who was pretending to be firm, gave in completely. He listened to Night Sorrow and left all his belongings, including his underwear, where he was. Very good. Take the teleportation crystal and use it where you are. Ning Ziyuan cooperated. Night Sorrow handed him the teleportation crystal and didn't give him a chance to hide his shame. In other words, he didn't give the Heavenly Martial Pavilion any cover. Sigh. Ning Ziyuan took the teleportation crystal and sighed. He closed his eyes and teleported out of the Divine Cloud's secret realm. Ning Ziyuan knew that what awaited him was Meng Yi's fury. However, he was already very lucky to be alive. As expected, Ning Ziyuan appeared on the teleportation array naked. Meng Yi's face was as dark as the bottom of a black pot. It looked like he was going to kill Ning Ziyuan with one slap. As for the people from the other sects, they all laughed. At this moment, the deity group ranking on the square changed for the first time. Individual ranking, first place, Night Sorrow, 15 points. Sect ranking, first place, Tianyun School, 15 points. Ha! Great! Night Sorrow has made a good start. This is great. The divine king, Zhuangqing, who was hiding in Lu Qingyuan's spatial artifact, was the first to cheer. Ever since Mu Baiyu, Tianyun School hadn't taken the lead in the 7-sex competition for many years. This time, not only did they win the Feather God group, but they also temporarily took the lead in the deity group. As the Grand Elder of Tianyun School, he was in a good mood. As long as Night Sorrow is given time, he will make everyone in the realm of gods look at him in a different light. Lu Qingyuan said emotionally. If Night Sorrow came from the other sects, he would definitely feel despair about the future. The other sects should be the ones feeling despair about the future. The only thing Tianyun School needed to do was to protect Night Sorrow's safety and allow him to rise smoothly like Tianai. Maybe it's already very lively outside. However, what will surprise you even more is yet to come. Night Sorrow, who had sent out the signal, didn't get a response until now. He realized that he was far away from the other sects, so he decided to deal with Mengdu himself. According to Night Sorrow's estimation, although he had a strong foundation, his strength was definitely weaker than a peak-high god like Mengdu. However, if he fought in a trap array that could weaken a cultivator's strength, he might have a chance to win. Even if he couldn't win, he could use the array to escape and leave Mengdu alone in the array. After that, Night Sorrow changed into Ning Ziyuan's robes and changed his appearance to Ning Ziyuan's. He then set up a trap array. This time, Night Sorrow used Ning Ziyuan's feather dragon-slaying sword as the eye of the array. In terms of aura, Mengdu definitely wouldn't be able to tell. Junior brother Ziyuan, how's the situation? After waiting for a while, Mengdu's voice sounded from Ning Ziyuan's voice transmission stone. This meant that Mengdu wasn't far from here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used the voice transmission stone. Night Sorrow is still trapped in the array. He's waiting for senior brother to come and kill him. Night Sorrow imitated Ning Ziyuan's tone. Very good. Ziyuan. After this competition, senior brother will reward you handsomely. Mengdu's voice was filled with joy. About 2 hours later, Mengdu appeared in front of Night Sorrow. Where's Night Sorrow? Before Mengdu arrived, he had already used his divine sense to detect Night Sorrow's aura. He didn't find anything abnormal, so he had already mistaken him as Ning Ziyuan. He's right in front of you. Night Sorrow, who had transformed into Ning Ziyuan, looked at Mengdu and explained. Chapter 2602. Junior Ziyuan, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm asking you, where is Night Sorrow? Mengdu said unhappily when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Until now, he had not noticed that the Ning Ziyuan in front of him was a fake. Mengdu, aren't you looking for me everywhere? I'm right here. Yishang, who had changed his appearance and voice back to normal, began to speak. Actually, he had the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Mengdu. However, given his character, he would not do so. Night Sorrow. It's you. Where's Junior Ziyuan? Mengdu asked furiously when he saw that the person in front of him was Night Sorrow. I've already sent your Junior Ziyuan out of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. You're next. When Night Sorrow said this, he released some flames from the Green Phoenix battle armor and burned Ning Ziyuan's clothes, returning him to his original appearance. His battle intent had already soared to the sky. Ha ha ha. Night Sorrow, should I say that you're blindly arrogant or blindly arrogant? Mengdu laughed out loud when he saw Night Sorrow's battle intent. He did not even put his opponent in his eyes. Mengdu. Between us, we'll only know who's blindly arrogant after a battle. Night Sorrow sneered. The trap array that he had personally set up could reduce the strength and speed of a Sur God by 40%. It should be the same for Mengdu, ha ha ha. Alright, I'll let you die knowing. Mengdu sneered and took out his Heavenly Marshal's soul refining spear. This spear was a replica of the Heavenly Marshal's soul refining spear and was a monarch-grade divine weapon. Initially, he had been thinking about the Heavenly Marshal's soul refining spear. However, Night Sorrow had merged it into the Heavenly Samsara halberd. This was the main reason why he hated Night Sorrow so much. We still don't know who will live and who will die. Facing Mengdu, who was ranked second, Night Sorrow's aura soared to the sky. He did not seem weak at all. Since that's the case, you can die. Night Sorrow did not launch a sneak attack. As Mengdu spoke, he suddenly used the Tianwu Fighting Soul Spear to stab Night Sorrow's dantian. This spear was powerful and heavy. Furthermore, it was extremely fast. However, under Night Sorrow's eyes of the Sea Serpent Dragon, it was obviously slowed down. He lifted the Heavenly Samsara halberd and slammed it forward. Boom! As the two of them collided, they both retreated more than 100 steps. A crack appeared on Mengdu's Heavenly Martial Battle Soul Spear. What's going on? I can only unleash 60% of my strength. Could it be that he was inside a formation? No wonder an ant like him dares to fight me. The moment he attacked, Mengdu understood what was going on. Meng Yi, who was watching from Tianqing Gate, saw that Night Sorrow and Meng Yi were evenly matched. His heart was in his throat. He was really afraid that Mengdu would be eliminated by Night Sorrow. If Mengdu's city was defeated by Night Sorrow, the Sky Martial Pavilion would definitely be ranked last in the God group. Haha. Are you scared now? Night Sorrow has just become a supreme god. In the future, he will be able to suppress the Sky Martial Pavilion. Lu Qingyuan, who had been suppressed for a long time, mocked Meng Yi once again. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. I don't think Night Sorrow will be able to grow up smoothly. Meng Yi's face darkened. His words were no different from a threat. Haha. Are you plotting against Night Sorrow? Tan Qingfeng from Tianqing Gate thinks the same way too. Look at him. Look at how obedient he is now. Lu Qingyuan replied disdainfully after hearing Meng Yi's threat. Let's wait and see. Meng Yi, who was watching the video, did not say anything else. At the same time, everyone in the Tianqing Gate Square was focused on the battle between Night Sorrow and Mengdu. They did not expect that Night Sorrow, who had just become a supreme god, would be able to challenge Mengdu, who was second only to Wuli. Waves of emotion surged in their hearts. The gate master of Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng, had the most complicated expression. Combined with the incident with Lord Qingyin, he was already regretting targeting Tianyun School. Night Sorrow's speed of growth had made him, the gate master, feel endless pressure. He was afraid that he would be punished in the future. At this moment, he no longer cared about the ancestral phoenix feather in Night Sorrow's hands. Many disciples of the Tianyun clan who were watching the battle were greatly encouraged as a sense of pride welled up in their hearts. As for Si Kongxiang, Mei Ruoxue and the others, it was needless to say. Although you are despicable and shameless to trick me into entering the array, I, Mengdu, have to admit that Night Sorrow is a peerless genius. Mengdu, who had already fought a few rounds with Night Sorrow and used his ultimate techniques, was still unable to defeat Night Sorrow. He praised coldly and said with killing intent, however, today, I, Mengdu, will kill a genius with my own hands. You will die without a doubt. Berserk Battle Technique. After speaking, Mengdu roared towards the sky and increased his strength rapidly in the array. After using the Berserk Battle Technique, Mengdu's body grew bigger. He was almost twice as tall and the muscles on his body looked as though they were made of molten iron. After the transformation, Mengdu's battle intent expanded as though it was going to destroy the heavens and earth. Do you think you are the only one who knows a secret technique that can increase one's strength? Knowing that Mengdu wanted to fight to the death, Night Sorrow didn't back down and used the Trestrumsa battle technique, increasing his strength tenfold. Although he wasn't sure how much Meng Du's strength had increased, Night Sorrow was getting more and more confident. Meng Du's strength wasn't as unparalleled as he had imagined. Go to hell. Heavenly Marshal's soul-splitting spear. The Heavenly Marshal's soul-refining spear in Meng Du's hand had almost doubled in size. The power of his spear was extremely ferocious. A spear art that attacks the divine soul. The moment Meng Du attacked, Night Sorrow felt a reaction from his divine soul. Earth-shattering roar. In an instant, Night Sorrow used the Samsara strike with the Samsara halberd as a response. At the same time, he used the green rock soul-splitting roar that Zhuangqing, the Divine King, had taught him. He had used the first move of the green rock soul-splitting roar. The Samsara halberd had almost completely neutralized the power of the Heavenly Marshal's soul-splitting spear. However, the first move of the green rock soul-splitting roar, earth-shattering roar, had severely injured Meng Du. He felt that his divine soul had almost been shattered. However, Night Sorrow's attack wouldn't stop there. While Meng Du was in a daze, he continued to roar, second roar, earth-shattering roar. This move was something that Night Sorrow could only use after he had used the Treistrimsa battle technique. After roaring, Night Sorrow felt a little weak and his divine soul was trembling. He immediately took out an elixir and consumed it to recover. Wang. Meng Du, who was hit by Night Sorrow's roar, had suffered severe injuries to his divine soul and was in a rather bad state. This is a good chance. Let's fight. Third move of the green rock soul-splitting roar. Third roar, Samsara break. Seeing that the effect was good, Night Sorrow gritted his teeth and used the ultimate move of the green rock soul-splitting roar. The reason why this move was called Samsara break was because it could directly shatter a cultivator's spirit seed. After Night Sorrow roared, Meng Du's divine soul was exceptionally strong and his spirit seed wasn't shattered. However, he had completely lost the ability to resist. End it. Raging flame subduing demons. Without any hesitation, Night Sorrow used the Samsara halberd and used the ancestral phoenix's feather to strengthen the raging flame subduing demons. Chapter 2603. The sky changed color, but it wasn't just the sky that changed color. In the square of Tianqing Gate, everyone who was watching the video was stunned by the scene before them. Everyone's expressions changed. Even the people from Tianyun School didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to suppress Meng Du. Lu Qingyuan opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he couldn't think of the right words. Si Kongxiang and Mei Ruoshua looked at each other. Both of them were shocked. After all, Night Sorrow was only a feather god on the way here. Seeing that he could defeat Meng Du, who was ranked 4th on the divine list, they were shocked. Ho Qingshan shook his head and said, "This is what it means to be a dominator. He is different from us. He is indeed different. He is a legend that we can only look up to." Yan Zheng said with deep feelings. Although he took advantage of the array, being able to set up an array is also a kind of strength. Night Sorrow is good. With him around, our Tianyun school will have no worries about the future. Elder Zhuangqing, who was in Lu Qingyuan's spatial device, felt a sense of accomplishment when he saw that Night Sorrow had defeated Meng Du with the green rock soul-splitting roar that he had taught him. Elder Zhuang is right. However, Night Sorrow has shocked the 7 sects too much. I am afraid that they will do something strange. Lu Qingyuan, who was worried, sent a telepathic message to the Divine King, Zhuangqing. What you said makes sense. We must be careful on the way back. Zhuangqing nodded. Night Sorrow had shown so much potential that even he didn't have the confidence to protect him. After a long while, he sighed and said, "This is the path that a peerless genius must take. Although the path ahead is full of obstacles, I believe that Night Sorrow will be able to walk all the way to the end. He will become a true dominator." Ha! Elder Lu, look at Meng Yi's expression. Ho Qing-shan reminded Lu Qingyuan with a smile. What? Hearing this, Lu Qingyuan turned around and looked at the heavenly martial pavilion. Meng Yi, who had witnessed Night Sorrow suppressing Meng Du, was in a daze. Tears started to roll down his cheeks. The leader of the heavenly martial pavilion actually cried when Meng Du was about to be killed. Elder Meng, are you all right? Yan Zhifei asked when he saw Meng Yi crying. I'm fine. Meng Yi pretended to be fine, but his voice was hoarse. When he looked at Night Sorrow again, his eyes were blurred and were completely filled with intense hatred. Qingyuan, when Night Sorrow comes out, you must be wary of this Meng Yi. I can see that he obviously has bad intentions. He has the same surname as Meng Du, so he might be from the same family. Yes. Elder Zhuang, Qingyuan understands. Lu Qingyuan nodded in response and stopped teasing Meng Yi. He could see that Meng Yi was on the verge of exploding. He thought to himself, Night Sorrow. Your brilliance has overshadowed all the other geniuses in the Cloud Celestial continent. This is both a good and bad thing. I'm afraid that you will become the enemy of the whole world. Yishan's rise was like a comet. This would definitely bring a lot of pressure to the people of the other sections. Danger would definitely follow the rise of fame. Night Sorrow, who was in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, did not consider this problem at all. He thought that whoever wanted to deal with him would be his enemy, regardless of whether he was ranked first or second. Meng Du, didn't you want to kill me and spend 20 points to buy my whereabouts? I'll tell you where I am. Shouldn't you pay me 20 points? Night Sorrow looked at Meng Du, who was burning with inferno demons, and asked coldly. Ah. Ah. Night Sorrow, you will die a horrible death. The heavenly samsara halberd had been strengthened by the ancestral phoenix's feather. The inferno demons had the ability to burn a cultivator's soul. Meng Du, who was being burned by the inferno demons, kept rolling on the ground and cursing. However, it was useless. He did not have the ability to turn over. You wanted to kill me. Now, I will kill you. This is very fair. Meng Du did not even have the ability to crush the teleportation crystal. Night Sorrow did not let him continue to struggle in the flames. He pierced his dantian with his spear. Killing was just a matter of time. He did not have the hobby of torturing people. After ending Meng Du's life, Night Sorrow kept all the spoils of war in his spatial artifact. Then, he consumed an elixir in the trapping array and recovered. About 4 hours later, Night Sorrow carried the heavenly samsara halberd on his back and rushed to the other regions. The first day was not over yet. He walked aimlessly, thinking that wherever he went, he would go. At the Tianqing Gate Square, Meng Yi's eyes were shedding tears of blood. In fact, Meng Du was his biological son. His only son was killed by Night Sorrow. The resentment in his heart had reached its peak. As long as he had the chance, he would not hesitate to attack Night Sorrow. Lu Qingyuan, from today onwards, my heavenly martial pavilion will fight to the death with your Tianyun school. After a long silence, Meng Yi said with a hoarse voice. Facing Meng Yi's threat, Lu Qingyuan snorted. Meng Du wanted to kill Night Sorrow. It is very fair that he was killed by him. To put it bluntly, he deserved it. If your heavenly martial pavilion becomes enemies with my Tianyun school because of this, then I, the Tianyun school, will accept it. Whether it is Night Sorrow or Tianyun school, they will all pay the price for this. Otherwise, I will not let this matter rest. Meng Yi threatened with a murderous aura. Then, he left the square. This place had become a place of sorrow for him. Yan Zhifei and the other members of the Heavenly Martial Pavilion saw Meng Yi leave angrily. They sat there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. On the first day of the seven-sect grand tournament, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion had already lost 2 people, including the strongest Meng Du. This time, the Heavenly Martial Pavilion might end up at the bottom. After this incident, the seven-sect grand competition's God group rankings changed once again. Knight Sorrow, who had killed Meng Du, who was ranked second, had obtained 34 points. His points had increased from 16 to 50. Tianyun School and Knight Sorrow were both ranked first with 50 points. The other people's points had not changed at all. Knight Sorrow, who had killed Ning Ziyuan and Meng Du, had already secured a spot in the top 16 even if he crushed the teleportation crystal and left the tournament. The many spectators who were staring at the scoreboard felt as if there were raging waves in their hearts. They couldn't calm down at all. Knight Sorrow, who was ranked 35th, had successfully killed Meng Du, who was ranked second. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. After a short moment of silence, everyone in the square began to discuss this matter. Some of the Tianqing Gate disciples who hated Knight Sorrow because of Wu You still hated Knight Sorrow, but they had to admit that he was an extremely terrifying enemy. As for Si Kongxiang's people, they had almost run out of words of praise. Even Mei Ruoxue, who worshipped Mu Baiyu, felt that Knight Sorrow's achievements might be greater than Mu Baiyu's in the future. Everyone in the square discussed this matter for about an hour before their attention was attracted by another matter. Chapter 2604. Hua Yunmiao of the Soaring Heaven sect encountered a half-step Divine King Realm's soul-devouring beast on the first day of entering the Immortal Cloud-sealed realm. He was killed on the spot and didn't even have time to crush the transfer crystal in his hand. He was a super expert ranked as the 5th seed. Cruel. In this 7-sex tournament, the God group gave off an extremely cruel feeling. On the first day, people saw the 2nd place Meng Du and the 5th place Hua Yunmiao being killed. Moreover, these 2 experts didn't even have the chance to crush the transfer crystal. In comparison, the Feather God group's competition was like playing house. Many disciples of the 7 sects were worried for the geniuses of their respective sects, afraid that they would follow in the footsteps of Meng Du and Hua Yunmiao. After all, if even top high gods like them died, everyone else was at risk of being killed. Someone else encountered it. An hour after Hua Yunmiao was killed, 2 images appeared on the square. The female cultivator of the Tianyun school, Yan Fangfei, and Qibin of the Soaring Heaven sect met in a desert. Yan Fangfei was ranked 25th. Qibin of the Soaring Heaven sect was ranked 17th. In terms of strength, Qibin definitely had the advantage. Seeing the 2 meet, Lu Qinyuan and the others of the Tianyun school all stood up worriedly. However, the result of the duel was very unexpected. Qibin had the advantage, but he was accidentally killed by Yan Fangfei's sword. He didn't even have the chance to crush the transfer crystal. How could this be? Could it be that our Tianyun school was really blessed by luck? Seeing Yan Fangfei kill Qibin with his own eyes, Lu Qinyuan revealed a look of disbelief. Why do I feel that their battle is a bit strange? Senior sister Yan has no chance of winning. As a woman, Mei Ruoxue's thoughts were more meticulous. She felt that something was wrong. Ruoxue, you noticed it too. Lu Qinyuan looked at Mei Ruoxue, who was frowning. Yes. I feel that Qibin is deliberately seeking death. Mei Ruoxue nodded. Now that you mention it, I also had the same feeling when I was watching. Si Kongxiang looked over and nodded. He also felt that something was amiss. That was because Yan Fangfei, who was at a disadvantage, had already grasped the teleportation crystal in her hand. She was about to give up, but she suddenly won in a daze. Even she herself was puzzled. Soaring Heaven sect isn't plotting something, is it? Yan Zheng asked doubtfully. I think it's possible, after all, Soaring Heaven sect's people are likely to have colluded with some evil creatures. There may even be spies from the heavenly demon race among them. Lu Qingyuan said, Si Kongxiang, Mei Ruoxue, Yanzheng, each of you keep an eye on the other three from Soaring Heaven sect. If there are any abnormalities, inform me immediately. After the dust had settled on this matter, the 7-sect Grand Tournament's God Group rankings changed once again. Individual ranking, first place, Night Sorrow, 50 points. In the individual ranking, the second place was Yan Fangfei, with 19 points. Tianyun School ranked first, with 69 points. As for the other sects and individuals, their points remained the same. Haha. In this year's God Group competition, my Tianyun School will definitely not be at the bottom. We might even get a very good ranking. The current points were very advantageous for Tianyun School. As the team leader, Lu Qingyuan felt a lot more confident. The other members of the Tianyun clan also felt proud and elated. At this time, the remaining 32 people in the Immortal Cloud-sealed world finally welcomed the end of the first day. Night Sorrow, who happened to be at the edge, noticed that the outermost area was gradually being swallowed by a strong darkness. Not wanting to be eliminated by the darkness, he hurriedly fled in the opposite direction. After flying for 50,000 kilometers, the darkness finally stopped. It seems that the chances of everyone encountering each other have increased by many times. Calculating from the surroundings, the range of the Immortal Cloud-sealed world would be reduced by a lot. Night Sorrow judged that the probability of everyone encountering each other would increase exponentially. Stopping, he released the prepared signal and waited for the others to respond. However, the remaining range of the Immortal Cloud-sealed world might still be a little large. Night Sorrow did not receive any news from the others and continued on his way. He continued to walk towards the inner part of the Immortal Cloud-sealed world. After walking for about 20,000 kilometers, Night Sorrow saw a graveyard that was full of vicissitudes. The graveyard was already overgrown with weeds and there was no aura of living beings. However, there were many shining artifacts scattered on the ground. There were Feather God, High God, Monarch God, and even King God artifacts. This isn't an illusion, right? It was very puzzling that there were King God artifacts scattered in the ancient graveyard. Night Sorrow murmured and activated the Eye of the Sea Serpent. Using the Eye of the Sea Serpent, he realized that the light emitted by these artifacts disappeared instantly. Instead, it was replaced by some rusty pieces of scrap metal. So it's a lie. If I'm greedy and walk into this graveyard, I'm afraid nothing good will come out of it. Night Sorrow, who had seen through the lie, turned around and prepared to leave immediately. Young friend. Can you listen to me? At that moment, a hunchbacked old man in old clothes crawled out of a grave mound in the graveyard. His clothes were obviously not the current style. There was a broken black sword in his chest. Although the black sword was broken, it had pierced through his chest. What's the matter? Night Sorrow turned around and looked at the old man with the Eye of the Sea Serpent. Night Sorrow was surprised to find that the old man was still alive. Moreover, he could not see through his cultivation level. Young friend, can you help me pull out this black sword? The hunchbacked old man pointed at the black sword in his chest and pleaded. King God Broken Sword. Tell me who you are first. Night Sorrow asked cautiously. The old man had a King God Broken Sword in his chest, which meant that he had most likely fought with the Divine King. To be able to survive a battle with the Divine King, he should at least be a Divine King. It's a long story. My name is Xian Dongqing. I'm usually called Dongqing Divine King. I'm a cultivator from 300 reincarnations ago. At that time, I fought with the soul-devouring beast and some extraterrestrial demons in this area. In the end, we successfully killed the leader of the soul-devouring beast and successfully sealed the Divine King-level extraterrestrial demon. However, I'm the only one left among more than 30 people. I built this graveyard for my companions with my own hands. The hunchbacked old man, Xian Dongqing, said with a sad face. Without waiting for Night Sorrow to speak, he continued, the broken sword in my chest came from that divine king-level extraterrestrial demon. Being suppressed by it, I can only linger on with my last breath. I can't completely recover, and there's no exit in this world. Is there such a thing? According to what you said, the divine king-level extraterrestrial demon was only sealed and not killed. Night Sorrow asked worriedly. If there was a divine king-level extraterrestrial demon in this immortal cloud mystic realm, then all the participants in the competition would be killed. Chapter 2605. That is indeed the case. And according to my judgment, it is not far from breaking the seal. The Holy Divine King sighed and continued, if you can help me remove the broken black sword, I might be able to strengthen the seal after I recover a little. I can help you remove the black sword, but you have to swear to the heavenly Tao that you will not harm the cultivators of the heavenly realm. Night Sorrow had the power of merit and could tell that Divine King Holly Green was telling the truth. However, he still had to be wary of others. He felt that he had to let the old man take the initiative to swear an oath to the heavenly Tao before he could be fully trusted. All right. I, Xian Dongqing, swear that I will never harm the cultivators of the heavenly realm in this life. Otherwise, I am willing to be tortured by the heavenly Tao forever. The Holy Divine King swore to the heavens. If someone tries to harm you first, you can attack. Seeing that the other party was willing to swear to the heavenly Tao, Night Sorrow added, Senior, how can I help you remove the black sword? You are a body of merit that is hard to come by in the 3,000 reincarnations of the heavenly realm. As long as you inject the power of merit into the black sword, it will automatically fly out of my body, the Holy Divine King explained. All right. Night Sorrow heard this and walked into the cemetery. He condensed the power of merit and turned it into a dragon of merit that wrapped around the broken black sword. As soon as the golden power of merit came into contact with the broken black sword, there was a sizzling sound on the sword. Not long after, the broken sword flew out of the Holy Divine King's body and into the sky. Why is Night Sorrow's image suddenly blurry? At this time, the people in the Tianqing Gate Square who were paying attention to Night Sorrow's image were all shocked. Because after Night Sorrow walked into the cemetery, they could not see the image clearly. What's going on? Lu Qingyuan, who was very worried about Night Sorrow's safety, immediately went to look for the deputy gate master of the Tianqing Gate, Liang Shijun. I'm not sure either. Maybe he accidentally entered some space. Some spaces can block the image crystal. The leader of Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng, no longer wanted to target Tianyun School. Under his instructions, Liang Shijun's attitude towards Lu Qingyuan had improved. There's such a thing. Hearing this, Lu Qingyuan immediately became nervous. However, at this time, Si Kongshang suddenly transmitted a message to him, Elder Lu, Night Sorrow has reappeared. He seems to be fine. I'm relieved. I don't know what happened just now. Lu Qingyuan said with some lingering fear. In the mausoleum, Night Sorrow used his power of virtue to disperse the black broken sword on the Holy Divine King's body. The Holy Divine King fell to the ground weakly. After feeding him a few pills, he put him into his spatial artifact, allowing him to quickly recover his strength in a time acceleration of 100 times. He followed the direction pointed out by the other party and moved towards the place where the Divine King was sealed. The two of them prepared to strengthen the seal of the Divine King to prevent it from causing a catastrophe. The other high gods of the 7 sects, who were completely unaware of this, began to increase the frequency of their encounters on this day. 3 days later, Night Sorrow was still on the road. Among the cultivators of the 7 sects, there had already been 10 battles, big and small. Among them, a total of 7 people were completely eliminated. Among them was Zhou Qian of Tianyun School, who was ranked 33rd. Although she was defeated, she crushed the transmission crystal in time and successfully returned to the transmission array of Tianqin Gate. The others were the remaining 3 people from Soaring Heaven Sect, 1 from Heavenly Star Pavilion, 1 from Heavenly Immortal Sect, and 1 from Heavenly Martial Pavilion. The 5 people from Soaring Heaven Sect were all eliminated in a few days. This was obviously a bit strange, and many people began to talk about it. As for Heavenly Martial Sect, they were completely unlucky. They didn't get a single point, and only 2 of the weaker ones were left. This time, their results were estimated to be only slightly better than the strange Soaring Heaven Sect. So far, a total of 8 high gods and 5 sects had obtained points. Among them, Night Sorrow with 50 points and Tianyun School with 69 points were still ranked first. Wu Li, who was listed as the first seed, eliminated 2 people in a row and rose to 32 points, ranking second. Murong Kai Yi of Heavenly Immortal Sect defeated 1 person and obtained 26 points, ranking third. She defeated the second strongest person of Soaring Heaven Sect, after Hua Yun Miao, who was ranked 10th, Qin Wu Mian. Ranked 4th to 7th were Zhuang Yuha of Heavenly Star Pavilion, Yan Fangfei of Tianyun School, Tsing Yudi of Tianqin Gate, and Tianxian School's Wan Jianhai. Apart from Night Sorrow and Yan Fangfei, those who obtained points were all top-ranked masters. Tianyun School was ranked first, Tianxian School was second, Heavenly Immortal Sect was third, Heavenly Star Pavilion was fourth, and Tianqin Gate was fifth. Senior, how much longer do we need to reach the place where the Heavenly Demon is sealed? After flying for a few days, Night Sorrow still hadn't reached the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed, so he asked doubtfully. Although the matter of sealing the Heavenly Demon was very important, he also needed to find opponents to obtain points. After all, the 7-sect great competition was still going on. Probably 2 more days. It's been too long, and the terrain has changed a bit, but I can sense its aura, so we're definitely heading in the right direction. The Holy Divine King, who was still recovering his strength in Night Sorrow's space artifact, replied. Up until now, he had only recovered the strength of a mid-level high god, and his combat strength was not even as good as Night Sorrow's. Okay. 2 days of delay in exchange for everyone's safety, it can be considered a merit. Night Sorrow nodded. He walked the path of merit, so he naturally wouldn't sit back and do nothing when encountering such a thing. After flying for another day, Night Sorrow, who had activated the Sea Serpent Dragon's Eye, avoided several strange beasts and flew straight towards the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed. At this time, they were already very close to the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed. Even Night Sorrow could feel the aura of the Heavenly Demon in the void, so he immediately sped up, wanting to reach the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed as soon as possible. However, just as Night Sorrow sped up, he saw a figure on the left in front of him, also flying towards the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed. Soaring Heaven Sect's clothes, he's from Soaring Heaven Sect. Could it be that he wants to release the Heavenly Demon? Using the Sea Serpent Dragon's Eye to see the clothes of the other party, Night Sorrow had an ominous premonition in his heart. He thought of Qin Yangzi, who brought the Heavenly Demon with him. He felt that there must be a reason why someone from Soaring Heaven Sect was flying towards the place where the Heavenly Demon was sealed. Stop! Night Sorrow, who would rather believe it than not, immediately shouted. Hearing the shout, the Soaring Heaven Sect cultivator, who had not noticed Night Sorrow, immediately sped up and flew forward desperately. Void Extreme Shadow Body. Seeing that the Soaring Heaven Sect High God did not stop at all, Night Sorrow immediately used his movement skill and chased after him. After about an hour, Night Sorrow successfully caught up with the other party. Who are you from Soaring Heaven Sect? Why do you keep flying in this direction? After stopping the other party, Night Sorrow observed him with the Sea Serpent Dragon's Eye and asked. I am Qin Wumian. You must be Night Sorrow, right? Qin Wumian, who was not as fast as Night Sorrow, stopped and looked at Night Sorrow with a cold face, saying, "You shouldn't have chased after me." "Really?" Night Sorrow asked with a sneer. He did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. The spectators at the Tianqing Gate Square all exclaimed. They clearly saw Qin Wumian being defeated by Murong Cai and killed without even using the transfer crystal. Chapter 2606. People from Soaring Heaven Sect, tell me, what is going on here? Seeing Qin Wumian, who should have been killed, appear in front of Night Sorrow, Lu Qingyuan immediately questioned the people from Soaring Heaven Sect. Hearing this, the people from the other sects also locked their eyes on Soaring Heaven Sect. This matter was very strange and they also wanted to hear Soaring Heaven Sect's explanation. "We don't know. Maybe Qin Wumian is plotting something. He pretended to be eliminated while remaining in the immortal cloud-sealed world. This is a serious violation of the principles of my Soaring Heaven Sect and will be expelled from Soaring Heaven Sect from now on." Soaring Heaven Sect's leader, Mu Yu, had an indifferent look on his face. "Bastard! Your Soaring Heaven Sect has 5 people participating in the competition, yet you were all inexplicably eliminated in 3 days. Isn't this the sect's arrangement?" Lu Qingyuan roared and questioned, "Speak. What is your Soaring Heaven Sect's purpose?" "Lu Qingyuan, don't slander us. My Soaring Heaven Sect has always been upright and upright. Even if there are some abnormalities, it is the disciples who broke the rules, it has nothing to do with the sect." Mu Yu said shamelessly before sneering, "I advise you to pay attention to your Tianyun School's genius disciple, Night Sorrow. He and Qin Wumian encountered each other, so it should be very difficult for him to survive. My Tianyun School's people don't need your Soaring Heaven Sect to worry about them." Lu Qingyuan coldly snorted and continued to look at the image crystal. He was really worried about Night Sorrow's safety. After getting along with each other these days, everyone from Tianyun School, including him, had established a strong friendship with Night Sorrow. Before Qin Wumian betrayed the sect, he was ranked 10th among the 35 high gods. Although Night Sorrow defeated Meng Du, it was in the spirit array. Now that there is no spirit array, he will die without a doubt, Mu Yu coldly cursed. His words revealed his resentment towards Night Sorrow. "Mu Yu. Your Soaring Heaven Sect has already gone astray, I hope you can turn back, otherwise you will be completely annihilated." Lu Qingyuan said coldly as he recalled Night Sorrow mentioning Qin Yangzi and the extraterrestrial demon he carried with him. Although there was no evidence to prove that Soaring Heaven Sect had anything to do with heavenly demons, based on what they had seen so far, it was likely that things were as Night Sorrow had predicted. After thinking about it for a moment, Lu Qingyuan found the sect master of Tianqing Gate, Tan Qingfeng, and asked, "Sect Master Tan, Soaring Heaven Sect's Qin Wumian has violated the rules by staying in the immortal cloud-sealed world, so he must have some ulterior motive. Is it possible to use the array to directly teleport him out?" Although Qin Wumian has indeed violated the rules, we have no way of teleporting him out. Furthermore, we have actually lost contact with the inner world. Anything that happens will have to be handled by the geniuses in the mystic realm. Tan Qingfeng explained helplessly. With such a problem appearing before him, Yang Kai also realized that Soaring Heaven Sect might have a problem. However, the matter had not been exposed clearly, so no one had any evidence to accuse Soaring Heaven Sect. Sigh. In that case, I can only pray for everyone's good fortune. When Lu Qingyuan heard Tan Qingfeng's words, he knew that this matter could only be solved by Night Sorrow and the others. He sighed and could only lock his gaze on the image. The others from Tianyun School also did the same. They could not help at all, so they could only pray silently in their hearts. At the same time, Night Sorrow and Qin Wumian had already started fighting. At the beginning of the battle, the two of them had only exchanged blows to probe each other. Neither of them had used any real skills or secret techniques. In this kind of probing, Knight Sorrow and Qin Wumian were almost evenly matched. Qin Wumian, who was very surprised, looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "I didn't expect you to have such combat strength after just breaking through to the High God realm. It seems that I will have to use some real methods. Only then will I be able to kill you. TSK, Merit God, you must die today." As he spoke, a trace of black qi appeared on Qin Wumian's face. He condensed his divine yuan qi and shouted, "Starry Sky's secret technique." In an instant, his strength increased by 5 to 6 times. "You know that I am the Merit God, so no matter what you plan, it will be stopped." Facing Qin Wumian, Knight Sorrow said coldly. At this moment, he could feel the thick aura of the extraterrestrial demon on Qin Wumian's body. This aura made him very uncomfortable. "If you want to stop me, you will have to see if the black blood dragon scale spear in my hand agrees or not." Qin Wumian, who had the thick extraterrestrial demon aura, took out a pitch-black spear from his spatial artifact. This spear gave off an extremely evil feeling. Standing there, Knight Sorrow felt like he was being stared at by some kind of evil creature. He sneered and asked, "Is there an extraterrestrial demon sealed in your black blood dragon scale spear like Qin Yangzi's?" "Ha! You even know about this? Then what awaits you is only death." Qin Wumian's eyes gradually turned from black to scarlet. With a shout, he summoned the monarch god-level extraterrestrial demon in the black blood dragon scale spear. Whoosh! From the image crystal, everyone saw Qin Wumian summon the extraterrestrial demon. Everyone, including Tianqing Gate's sect master, Tan Qingfeng, couldn't remain calm. The extraterrestrial demon was an evil species that the cultivators of the god world were extremely afraid of. Now that it had appeared in the 7-sect Great Competition's trial grounds, the immortal cloud-sealed realm, they couldn't let Soaring Heaven sect sit still. "Mu Yu, you have to explain to this sect leader what is going on. How can a disciple of your Soaring Heaven sect summon an extremely evil extraterrestrial demon? You and I both know how much damage extraterrestrial demons have caused to the god world." When Qin Wumian first appeared, Tan Qingfeng didn't say anything, but now he couldn't sit still. Now it seemed that Soaring Heaven sect had a big problem. It was very likely that they had betrayed the 7-sect alliance and colluded with the extraterrestrial demon. This is just Qin Wumian's personal action. It has nothing to do with my Soaring Heaven sect. Mu Yu continued to argue. He blamed Qin Wumian in his heart. He felt that he shouldn't have summoned the extraterrestrial demon in front of the image crystal. This was a complete insult to Soaring Heaven sect. Good. Very good. Mu Yu, your attitude has successfully angered this sect master. Tan Qingfeng coldly snorted and roared, "Men, capture all the elders and disciples of Soaring Heaven sect." "Yes, sect master." Hearing this, the people of Tianqing Gate, including Supreme Elder Fan Xianyun, immediately attacked the people of Soaring Heaven sect. Lu Qingyuan and the others of Tianyun School also joined in. The masters of the 6 sects worked together and quickly restrained the people of Soaring Heaven sect. The people of Soaring Heaven sect were very likely to have colluded with the extraterrestrial demon. This was a major matter that would incur public anger. Take them to the dungeon. This sect master will personally interrogate them. The appearance of extraterrestrial demons in the god world was a major matter. Tan Qingfeng couldn't remain calm. After capturing the people of Soaring Heaven sect, he sent someone to inform the Dark Moon ruler about the appearance of the extraterrestrial demon. As for the people of the other sects, they had already sent messages to their respective sects, explaining the matter of Soaring Heaven sect. Inside the immortal cloud-sealed world. Although Qin Wumian's strength wasn't comparable to a top genius like Meng Du, he still couldn't be underestimated. Chapter 2607. Ha ha ha. You're known as a master, but it turns out that you're only so-so. Qin Wumian, who had the upper hand, kept swinging his black blood dragon Qilin spear to coordinate with the attacks of the heavenly demon. You even know this. It seems that your Soaring Heaven sect has many spies. Knight Soro's claim of being a master was only spread within the Tianyun school. Hearing Qin Wumian's words, he immediately understood that there were still spies in the Tianyun school. You'd better worry about your own life. As for spies, that's not something you should worry about. After today, your soul will be completely destroyed. Qin Wumian brandished his black blood dragon Qilin spear and continuously unleashed exquisite spear arts. In his opinion, with the cooperation of the heavenly demon, there was no doubt that he could defeat Knight Sorrow. If you want to take my life, just you and this heavenly demon are not enough. Knight Sorrow used the 33 Heaven secret art to increase his strength. He roared, "Virtuous Dragon Lock Array." He used the Virtuous Dragon Lock Array to trap the heavenly demon and let it be roasted by the power of virtue. The power of virtue was the nemesis of all evil. As time passed, the heavenly demon, who couldn't break out of the array, gradually began to howl inside. The ear-piercing howl was very uncomfortable to listen to. Knight Sorrow had fallen into a passive state just now because he wanted to test his true strength. After testing it out, he found that if he didn't use the 33 Heaven secret art, he wouldn't be a match for Qin Wumian and the heavenly demon. Don't think that you're a match for me just because you've bound him. Qin Wumian, whose eyes were blood red, looked incomparably evil. He burned his blood essence to increase his strength again and used the heavenly demon exterminating palm, one of Soaring Heaven sect's sect guarding skills. Heavenly demon exterminating palm. I think you've already become a demon. You'd better kill yourself. Qin Wumian directly summoned the heavenly demon in front of the image crystal, which confused Knight Sorrow. However, he didn't have time to think about this in the battle. He condensed his divine qi and used the Samsara Void palm to clash with Qin Wumian. Boom! Their palms collided, shattering the surrounding void. At the same time, a loud sound reverberated through the immortal cloud's secret realm. Some of the demonic beasts within 10,000 miles were alarmed. A scarlet flame dire wolf at the half-step divine king realm howled at the sky, seemingly warning the two of them. Looks like I've underestimated you. Black blood dragon scale spear, self-destruct. The result of the exchange was that Knight Sorrow held the advantage. Qin Wumian, who had been sent flying, crazily detonated the black blood dragon scale spear. Facing the impact of the black blood dragon scale spear's self-destruction, Knight Sorrow performed the void extreme shadow body and quickly dodged into the void. Although he was hit by the explosion, he wasn't seriously injured. Why do I feel that this Qin Wumian is so strange? Could it be that the one controlling this body is no longer Qin Wumian himself? Judging from Qin Wumian's behavior, he was a traitor who had betrayed the God realm and colluded with the extraterrestrial demons. However, Knight Sorrow observed him with the sea serpent's eye and found that there was something wrong with his aura. As the battle progressed, his aura became more and more similar to that of the extraterrestrial demons. Combined with the fact that Qin Wumian had summoned the extraterrestrial demons in front of everyone, Knight Sorrow guessed, could it be that the extraterrestrial demons controlled him to frame Soaring Heaven sect? But Soaring Heaven sect's Qin Yangzi also has the extraterrestrial demons on him. This doesn't make sense. You dare to be distracted while fighting me. Die, Knight Sorrow. Qin Wumian roared and madly charged at Knight Sorrow. When he got close, he suddenly chose to self-destruct. What? You actually made such a crazy choice. Knight Sorrow, who didn't expect Qin Wumian to self-destruct, was caught off guard and suffered serious injuries. After using the secret art of the 33 Heavens, his strength wasn't inferior to Qin Wumian's. When Qin Wumian realized that he couldn't kill him, he chose to self-destruct. This was simply too crazy. Night Sorrow, the child you were fighting just now was completely taken over by the extraterrestrial demons. This is one of the evil tricks of the extraterrestrial demons. The Holy Divine King, who had witnessed the entire battle from inside his space artifact, sighed. The extraterrestrial demons were simply too evil. He hated them to the core. So that's how it is. It seems that my guess was right. The extraterrestrial demons controlled Qin Wumian and summoned the extraterrestrial demons in front of everyone. They definitely had a purpose. Night Sorrow agreed. In the Tianqing Gate Square, everyone was also very surprised when they saw Qin Wumian choose to self-destruct. In a battle, cultivators would never choose to self-destruct unless they were in a life-or-death situation. Just now, Qin Wumian was only at a slight disadvantage. The timing of his self-destruction was very strange. Many people fell into deep thought, trying to figure out the inside story. After defeating Qin Wumian, Night Sorrow, under the command of the Holy Divine King, continued to rush towards the sealed area of the Divine King level extraterrestrial demon. Because the aura of the Divine King level extraterrestrial demon was very close, it didn't take long for Night Sorrow to arrive at the sealed area with the Holy Divine King. This was a lake with a circumference of 10,000 miles. On top of the lake, lotus flowers were in full bloom. The scenery was very beautiful. The Divine King level extraterrestrial demon was sealed under the lake by us. The formation we used to seal it is called the Thousand Lotus Heartlock Formation. Each of these lotus flowers before you is the core of the formation. The Holy Divine King, who walked out of the spatial artifact, had recovered his strength to that of a high god. His complexion was much better, and his white hair was gradually shining. Holy Divine King, how do we strengthen the seal? Night Sorrow asked directly. If the Divine King level extraterrestrial demon was released, the consequences would be unimaginable. I need to recover my strength to that of a high god to be able to strengthen the seal, Xian Qing explained. Then he continued, I see that this formation is stronger than expected. As long as no one destroys it, it can last for at least a few decades. These years are enough for me to recover my strength. You need that long. I can stay here for at most 20 days, or even less. Night Sorrow explained. If he didn't participate in the 7-sect tournament, it wouldn't be a problem for him to wait here. However, if the tournament ended or this area was shrouded in darkness, he would be teleported out of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. In that case, he wouldn't be able to continue helping. It's okay. There shouldn't be any extraterrestrial demons in this secret realm anymore. You can do your own things in peace. Thank you very much for this matter. The Holy Divine King said to Night Sorrow. In his opinion, it was only a matter of time before he recovered his strength. At that time, he could strengthen the seal of the extraterrestrial demon. At this time, Night Sorrow said worriedly, Divine King. There are probably 4 other cultivators like that Qin Wumian just now. They are all threats. How about this, I will set up a trapping formation around the lake so that they can't come in. This way, the crisis will be easily solved. Chapter 2608. All right. Let me see how good you are at setting up formations. The Holy Divine King nodded as he observed Night Sorrow setting up the formation. Sometimes he would nod in approval, but sometimes he would shake his head. After Night Sorrow finished setting up the trapping formation, the Holy Divine King smiled and said, Your formation is very detailed, but there are some places that could be better. For example, the Holy Divine King walked around the trapping formation with Night Sorrow and pointed out 7 or 8 imperfections. After his pointers, Night Sorrow was enlightened and said gratefully, Thank you, Divine King, for your pointers. You're welcome. The Holy Divine King smiled and took out a book from his spatial artifact. This is a formation diagram that I've kept for many years. There are a few Divine King level formations and 20 Divine Lord level formations in it. Take it as a reward for your kindness. Since it's a gift from the Divine King, Knight Sorrow won't refuse. Yi Shan accepted the formation map without hesitation. Then, he used his power of virtue to disperse the dark aura around God King Holly's body. After dispersing the dark aura on the broken sword, the Holly Divine King's strength recovered by a small realm. Ha! The power of virtue is indeed very mysterious. If the Divine Realm had more cultivators like you, we wouldn't have to fear the extraterrestrial demons. The Holly Divine King praised with a smile. Several hundred cycles had passed, and he knew that things had changed, so he didn't ask Knight Sorrow about the current situation in the Divine Realm. After setting up the trapping formation, Knight Sorrow didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited for 7 days. He didn't see Hua Yunmiao and the others, so he left and rejoined the 7-sect tournament. In the Tianqing Gate Square, the people who had been paying attention to Knight Sorrow didn't see any other extraterrestrial demons, so they focused on the 7-sect tournament again. As for the interrogation of the Soaring Heaven Sect Elder, it was naturally the responsibility of the Tianqing Gate's Gate Master, Tan Qingfeng. It wasn't something they should worry about. At this time, the leading individual on the scoreboard was Tianxian School's Wu Li. During the days when Knight Sorrow was busy, he crazily gained points and now had 90 points. The second place was Murong Kai-yi from the Heavenly Immortal Sect with 72 points. The third place was Zhuang Yuhe with 65 points. As for Knight Sorrow, who still had 50 points, he was ranked 4th. In addition to the points obtained by Mu Qingyu and Yan Fangfei, Tianyun School had 102 points, temporarily ranking second behind Tianxian School. More than 10 days after the 7-sect tournament began, more than 20 people had been eliminated. The remaining dozen or so, except for Knight Sorrow, were all seeded contestants with high scores. The more time passed, the more the rankings fluctuated. Almost every expert's defeat would cause a change in the scoreboard. After leaving the Divine King's sealed place, Knight Sorrow didn't see any cultivators after flying for about 2 days. On the third day, he suddenly saw a distress signal from Tianxian School and immediately rushed over at full speed. In the stone forest where the signal was sent, Knight Sorrow saw Murong Kai-yi being besieged by Tianxian School's Wu Li and Wan Jianhai. She was in a critical situation, covered in blood. She was suppressed and clenched the teleportation crystal in her hand. "Senior Sister Kai-yi, let me help you." Knight Sorrow, who was hiding in the dark, didn't go forward immediately. Instead, he transmitted his voice to Murong Kai-yi. At this time, Wu Li and Wan Jianhai were focused on dealing with Murong Kai-yi and didn't notice that Knight Sorrow had arrived. "Knight Sorrow, you are here. Help me escape and I will give you the points. No matter what, I don't want to let those two off." Hearing Knight Sorrow's transmission, Murong Kai-yi, who was in despair, suddenly had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She had an inexplicable trust in Knight Sorrow, even when facing Wu Li and Wan Jianhai. "How much battle strength do you have left? Can you fight against Wu Li alone?" Knight Sorrow, who was close to the scene of the incident, transmitted his voice to her. He wanted Murong Kai-yi to delay Wu Li while he thought of a way to kill Wan Jianhai. Wan Jianhai was ranked around 10th. He was confident that he could win. "I'm afraid I can't fight against him. Wu Li's strength is much stronger than mine." Murong Kai-yi told the truth. Wu Li's strength was too strong for her. "If I delay Wu Li, can you kill Wan Jianhai as soon as possible?" Knight Sorrow continued to ask. He wasn't Wu Li's opponent. This was an indisputable fact. However, if he wanted to delay some time, there was still a way. As long as Wan Jianhai was killed, he and Murong Kai-yi might not be Wu Li's opponent. Under normal circumstances, I naturally have the ability to kill him quickly. However, I'm seriously injured now. I'm not so sure. Murong Kai-e sighed. She felt that she was holding him back. No matter. Then we will arrange it like this. You hold on for a while. I will arrange a formation. When the formation is finished, you will lead them into the trap formation. At that time, I will separate them and we will deal with them one by one. Night Sorrow said and asked, I need dozens of breaths of time to arrange the formation. Can Senior Sister Kai-e hold on? If I use the secret technique, I should be able to hold on. Murong Kai-e replied. When she was replying, Wan Jianhai's sword slashed her shoulder. Blood flowed down her white defensive robe and directly flowed to the front of her chest. Senior Sister Kai-e, hold on for a while. I will finish the arrangement soon. As he spoke, Night Sorrow slowly set up the trapping formation that Divine King Holly Green had modified at the edge of the stone forest. After arranging the formation, Night Sorrow said, Senior Sister Kai-e, I have finished the arrangement. Lead them here. Night Sorrow. I'm afraid I can't do it. It was Murong Kai-e who responded to Yishang. Her voice was already very weak. I will help you. Hearing this, Night Sorrow didn't have the mood to wait around the trap formation. He immediately flew up and shouted, Wu Li, you little brat, give me your life. Wu Li, who originally wanted to smash Murong Kai-e's head, heard Night Sorrow's voice. He stopped and looked in the direction of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow. It's really you. This is really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. You made me look for you so hard. Seeing Night Sorrow come, Wu Li immediately shouted in a cold voice. His hatred for Yishang originated from his younger brother, Worryless, who had been killed. Really? In that case, let's fight. Night Sorrow saw that Wu Li and Wan Jianhai stopped and looked at him. They didn't continue to attack the dying Murong Kai-e. His heart suddenly relaxed. Ha ha ha. You, a low-level high god, want to fight with me? This is the funniest joke I have heard in this competition. Wu Li laughed arrogantly and said, prepare to die. I won't let you crush the transmission crystal. We will know who wins and who loses after the battle. Facing the arrogant Wu Li, Night Sorrow's eyes were full of determination. He didn't have the slightest intention to retreat. Jianhai, deal with Murong Kai-e. I will kill Night Sorrow. Chapter 2609. Okay, senior brother. Murong Kai-e is seriously injured. Don't worry about her. You deal with Night Sorrow. Hearing Wu Li's command, Wan Jianhai looked at Murong Kai-e contemptuously and said, your 32 points are mine. Thinking that he could get 32 points at once, he was very excited. He originally thought that these points would belong to Wu Li, but now it was a complete surprise. Wan Jianhai, although I am injured, I am not someone a trash like you can kill. Wu Li turned to deal with Night Sorrow, and Murong Kai-e's pressure was relieved. She found a chance to swallow a few pills. After swallowing the pills, Murong Kai-e was still in a difficult situation at first, but after fighting with Wan Jianhai for a while, the god origin force in her body gradually recovered. Bastard! How can you turn around when you are on the verge of death? After fighting for a while, Wan Jianhai gradually felt that something was wrong. At first, he completely suppressed Murong Kai-e, but now they were almost evenly matched. If they continued to fight, he would probably be defeated. His heart was covered with a layer of shadow. He only hoped that Wu Li could quickly deal with Night Sorrow and come back to help. Wan Jianhai, your defeat has been revealed. You are not far from being killed. Now, I will let you know that there is a difference between the 4th and the 11th. The more Murong Kai fought, the more powerful her aura became. She gradually took control of the situation. She had completely recovered her former fairy appearance. Murong Kai, don't be happy too early. If it doesn't work, I can still escape to senior brother's side to seek protection. Wan Jianhai was very angry. He almost got the 32 points, but he didn't get it. This made him feel very frustrated. You are an expert on the divine list. How can you leave Wu Li's protection and become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? If you don't have the heart of an expert, how can you go further on the road of cultivation? Murong Tsai, who was looking at the 10,000 sword sea, made a domineering move to suppress him. At this time, she was very grateful to Night Sorrow. If he didn't come, she would have crushed the transfer crystal and wouldn't have had a chance to escape from a hopeless situation. On the square of Tianqing Gate, seeing Murong Kai gradually recover, the worried people of Tianqing sect were very excited. Both of them felt a sense of relief after surviving a calamity, and they also felt grateful towards Night Sorrow. As for the people from Tianyun School and Tianxian School, as well as the spectators from other sects, their eyes were locked onto Night Sorrow and Wu Li. Between Night Sorrow and Wu Li, one was the most mysterious person in the God group during the 7-sect Grand Tournament, while the other was the strongest first seed. Their clash made everyone excited. Normally, Night Sorrow would not be favored. However, everyone had witnessed him successfully killing the Heavenly Martial Pavilion's Meng Du naturally. They would not underestimate him. Many people were looking forward to this battle. They felt that this would be the most exciting battle of the upper gods. However, Wu Li himself looked down on Night Sorrow very much. He simply did not treat him as an opponent of the same level. In the process of chasing Night Sorrow, not only was there a strong killing intent on his face, there was also a look of contempt between his brows. He said calmly, as if he was in control of the entire situation, "Run. Do you think you can run? What a clown. I'll let you be proud for a while." Night Sorrow said confidently as he led Wu Li towards the array. It was true that his strength was lower than Wu Li's, but if he could lure him into the array, the battle situation would definitely be reversed. With the array in hand, the world was mine. This was the source of Night Sorrow's confidence. Haha. Didn't you just set up an array? Do you think I, Wu Li, can't see through it? After chasing for a while, Night Sorrow entered the trapping array, while Wu Li stood at the edge of the array. After observing for a while, he said disdainfully. Then, he took out a mountain-sized jade seal from his spatial artifact. He looked at Night Sorrow and sneered, "Swimming dragon sea turning seal. A monarch-level array can be broken by force. I want to see how long your array can last. Swimming dragon sea turning seal. Break the array." Taking out the swimming dragon sea turning seal, Wu Li did not delay for a moment and silently chanted the incantation to activate it. The swimming dragon sea-turning seal that received the order flew to the sky where the array was located and smashed down with a loud bang. The enormous power made the entire world change color. This was completely breaking the array with force, but the effect was very good. This swimming dragon sea-turning seal is really extraordinary. If it keeps bombarding like this, the trapping array might very well be shattered. If I encounter Wu Li directly, I'm definitely not his match. How can I be willing to lose to him? The Night Sorrow in the trapping array discovered that this swimming dragon sea-turning seal was extremely ferocious. It shook the array very quickly. If it smashed for a while more, the array would definitely break apart with a bang. Ha ha ha. Night Sorrow, the array formation that you're relying on doesn't look like much. I want to see what you can still rely on after the array formation is broken. Outside the array formation, Wu Li floated in midair, his brows full of killing intent. In his view, Night Sorrow was already a fish on the chopping board. There was no chance to turn things around at all. Wu Li, don't be happy too early. It's not that easy to defeat me. Inside the array formation, Night Sorrow gradually calmed down under the bombardment of the swimming dragon sea-turning seal. He took out all 10 dragon blood restriction breaking pills from his spatial magic tool. After swallowing one, there were no signs of advancement. Night Sorrow swallowed the second and third pills in succession. When he swallowed the 5th pill, his body produced a strong reaction. He felt that the divine origin power in his body seemed to have suddenly exploded and surged fiercely. The blood in his body was like a stormy sea, emitting a turbulent sound. My divine origin power has increased a lot, my body has also become a lot stronger, but it's still not enough. I might as well swallow all of them. Generally, when a high god realm cultivator consumed a dragon blood restriction breaking pill, they would immediately break through. Night Sorrow swallowed all 10 pills before he had the opportunity to break through. This was directly related to his strength. Sitting in place, Night Sorrow calmed his chi and focused his mind at the same time as the swimming dragon sea-turning seal smashed down and advanced to Middle God Realm. Boom! When Night Sorrow advanced from Lower God Realm to Middle God Realm, his lightning tribulation energy body immediately fell from the sky. Seeing that Night Sorrow chose to break through at this juncture, the spectators in the Tianqing Gate all began to discuss. Most of them felt that Night Sorrow had just broken through to Lower God Realm not long ago, and he chose to use the pills to advance to Middle God Realm. This was no different from pulling up seedlings to help them grow. It would have an impact on his foundation. Chapter 26:10. If anyone else had made such a decision, they would have cut off their future path. But Night Sorrow is different. He has accumulated a lot of resources. As a lesser high god, he has the ability to reach the top 10 of the god ranking. How could a genius like him be affected by a mere mid-high god? Divine King Zhuangqing, who was in his spatial artifact, replied confidently. He was very confident in Night Sorrow. Thank you, Grand Elder Zhuang, for dispelling my doubts. Now that you've explained it, I understand. Yishang doesn't lack a foundation at all, he only lacks time to cultivate. Lu Qingyuan sighed and continued, these dragon blood limit breaking pills are only saving him the trouble of cultivating. That is correct. The divine King Zhuangqing confirmed and continued, but this method can only be used once in each realm. If it is used too many times, no matter how deep one's foundations are, one's Tao heart will become unstable and it will be detrimental to one's future. Grand Elder Zhuang, do you think that Night Sorrow will have the ability to defeat Wu Li now that he has become a mid-high god? Lu Qingyuan, who was looking forward to Night Sorrow, asked. After all, Zhuangqing was the divine King Zhuangqing and could see many things more clearly than he could. In my opinion, with Night Sorrow's resources, even if he cannot defeat Wu Li after becoming a mid-high god, he should have no problem protecting himself. After his breakthrough, his strength will at least rise to second place. The divine King Zhuangqing analyzed. In his opinion, after Night Sorrow's breakthrough, his strength would definitely surpass Meng Du and Zhuang Yuhe. However, Wu Li's strength was unfathomable. Even he wasn't sure who would have the upper hand between Night Sorrow and him. Night Sorrow's strength has increased again. This guy is a freak among freaks. Perhaps he already has the strength to challenge Wu Li. In other words, he has the strength to challenge the top 3 on the god ranking. Si Kongxiang's eyes were filled with envy when he saw that Night Sorrow had successfully broken through to the mid-god realm and his aura had changed yet again. Mei Ruoxue, who was beside him, also sighed emotionally. Perhaps this is the so-called disposition of a ruler. If he wasn't so outstanding, why would he Gem and Clear Sound view him in such a different light? Si Kongxiang nodded. That's true. We shouldn't compare ourselves with him. Otherwise, our Tao hearts will definitely be unstable. Night Sorrow looked like he had gotten rich overnight, but in reality, he had accumulated a lot of experience. If he hadn't had a perfect foundation in the Feather God realm, he wouldn't have been so strong in the High God realm. They all understood these things. Within the immortal cloud mystic realm. The moment Night Sorrow successfully broke through, even with the help of the swimming dragon sea flipping seal, Wooly did not completely break through the trapping array. At this time, the innumerable sword sea could no longer withstand Murongsai's attacks. The difference in strength between the 11th and the 4th could almost be described as the difference between heaven and earth. The defeated innumerable sword sea could only helplessly escape to Wooly and say, "Senior brother, I'm not Murongsai's opponent." Just now, she pretended to be seriously injured, but in reality, she still has the strength to fight. No matter. Then let's fight together. Wooly looked at the innumerable sword sea. He knew what was going on, but he didn't blame him for not doing his job well. A powerful battle strength erupted from his body as he coldly roared, "Night Sorrow, if you don't come out, I will personally kill Murongsai." According to his judgment, even with the help of the swimming dragon sea flipping seal, it would take 2 to 4 hours to completely break the array. He wanted to immediately kill Night Sorrow and avenge Wuyo. He was already impatient, so he threatened. "Don't be delusional. You won't have the chance." Night Sorrow, who had already stabilized his mind at the mid-high god realm, slowly walked out of the trapping array. According to his judgment, if he joined forces with Murongsai, they would definitely be able to defeat the combination of Wooly and innumerable sword sea. You finally rolled out of your turtle shell. Now, prepare for your death. Don't think that just because you have advanced to the mid-high god realm, you can fight against the invincible me. Facing Night Sorrow, Wooly completely unleashed his killing intent. He controlled the swimming dragon sea flipping seal and smashed it towards Night Sorrow with an imposing aura. I have heard this sentence of yours before. It is truly laughable. If you were truly invincible, why would you be ranked 3rd on the divine list instead of 1st place? Feeling the abundant divine origin energy in his body, Night Sorrow disdainfully roared. Using the Samsara heavenly halberd, he struck out the Samsara strike and directly sent Wooly's swimming dragon sea flipping seal flying. One roar shaking mountains and rivers. After sending Wooly's swimming dragon sea flipping seal flying, Night Sorrow immediately used the green rock soul-splitting roar. Insignificant skill. Wooly judged from Night Sorrow's roar that Night Sorrow used this move to attack the divine soul. However, he had learned the incomplete version of the Star Soul secret technique from Wu Axayan, so his divine soul was relatively strong and could withstand this attack. My target isn't you. In the face of Wu Li's provocation, Night Sorrow smiled coldly and looked at Wang Jianhai, who was bleeding from his orifices. Without hesitation, he used the second move of the green rock soul-splitting roar. Second roar shattering heaven and earth. Ah! Senior brother, save me. My divine soul can't withstand it. After being attacked by Night Sorrow's green rock soul-splitting roar, Wang Jianhai couldn't withstand it at all and hurriedly cried for help. Trash! What's the use of having you? You can't even withstand this level of attack. Wang Jianhai's weakness made Wooly very angry. He said coldly, if you continue to be attacked, your divine soul might be destroyed and enter my spatial artifact. Yes. Senior brother. Wooly was a temperamental person and Wang Jianhai was very afraid of him. Hearing this, he immediately gave up resisting and prepared to enter the spatial artifact. Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had opened the eye of the sea serpent, saw Wang Jianhai's figure clearly and directly bound him in the trapping array. He jumped high and used the Samsara halberd to attack with the enhanced version of the Raging Flames Demon Subduing. Wang Jianhai, who couldn't get out of the sealed space, was burned by the flames. He immediately crushed the teleportation crystal. He knew that if he hesitated, he would be eliminated directly. Now that things had developed to this point, the spectators on the square of the Heavenly Clear Gate realized that Murongsai hadn't arrived, but Yishang had already successfully eliminated the Heavenly Profound Sect's 1 Jianhai in a 1 versus 2 situation. This display of strength left countless people dumbfounded. When the 7 sect tournament began, Knight Sorrow had just broken through to the Supreme Deity level. Now, less than a month had passed and he had become so strong. This speed of improvement was simply shocking. Incredible. This Knight Sorrow from Tianyun School has a limitless future. No wonder he can get the protection of Ruler Voiceless Sound. Chapter 26:11. Yes. Gate Master. Yes, Gate Master. Grand Elder Fan Xianyun and Vice Gate Master Liang Shijun beside Tan Qingfeng responded one after another. They didn't raise any objections to this matter. After all, anyone who wasn't a fool could see Knight Sorrow's strength. Grand Elder Fan Xianyun sighed with emotion. I've never seen such a strong rising star in my life. If he doesn't die young, his achievements will definitely overshadow us. It's not just you who haven't seen it. Even the former ruler wasn't as strong as him. Tan Qingfeng used to be in the same era as Ruler Tianai. In the end, Ruler Tianai succeeded in rising, and everyone else in the same era was overshadowed. But in his opinion, Ruler Tianai wasn't as strong as Knight Sorrow in the same era. As the Gate Master, Tan Qingfeng was afraid that Tianqing Gate's luck wouldn't be able to suppress a future ruler. If they resisted, they might suffer a backlash. They wanted to form an alliance with Tianyun School. Gate Master, what kind of concessions should we make in the face of Tianyun School? Vice Gate Master Liang Shijun asked. Because of Knight Sorrow, Tianyun School's future was limitless. They had to be cautious. After watching his battle with Wu Li, we'll decide. As long as he doesn't die in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, Tianqing Gate will immediately form an alliance with Tianyun School. Tan Qingfeng sighed. Some people must have a good relationship with them before they completely rise. Otherwise, it's impossible to climb up their social ladder. Yes. Shijun understands. Liang Shijun nodded and then locked his gaze on the image. Watching the battle between Knight Sorrow and Wu Li. At this time, Murongsai had already appeared beside the two of them. However, Knight Sorrow didn't let her fight with Wu Li. Instead, he chose to fight Wu Li one-on-one. He wanted to thoroughly test his own strength. Knight Sorrow, you're the most reckless cultivator I've ever seen. If you don't let Murongsai help you, it is equivalent to directly choosing death. Wu Li's face was filled with arrogance. In his probing confrontation with Knight Sorrow, he had gained a certain advantage. As the number 1 high deity of the 7 sects, he was indeed very powerful. Speaking of which, you're merely a half-step divine lord, just 2 minor realms higher than me. Against you, I, Knight Sorrow, do not need anyone else's help. Knight Sorrow responded to Wu Li. Because he had just advanced, his boundless aura was released without any restraint, giving off an extremely powerful feeling. After saying this, Knight Sorrow used the 33 Heaven secret combat technique to increase his strength. He used the Azure Rock Soul Rending Roar's 3rd roar to break the cycle of reincarnation to attack Wu Li. That sort of sound wave attack was extremely powerful. Furthermore, it was capable of disturbing one's mind. Even if it did not injure Wu Li, it was capable of causing his state of mind to become agitated. As long as his mind was in a mess, he would definitely reveal a flaw. I've said it before. Your attacks are just small tricks. They're useless against me. Wu Li's divine soul was somewhat shaken by the Azure Rock Soul Rending Roar, but his mouth was still very tough. At the same time, he took out a giant sickle that was more than 3 feet long from his spatial artifact. This sickle's blade was suffused with a cold light, giving off a chilling feeling. At a glance, one could tell that it was a forbidden divine artifact among divine lord artifacts. Sickle of Harvest. Chop off his head. After taking out the sickle of harvest, Wooly threw it into the air. He had it and the swimming dragon flipping seal pressure Night Sorrow together. Then, he took out a saber, held it in his hand, and unleashed an ultimate technique at Yishang. Indestructible Heaven Beheading Saber. Wu Li's attack, 3-in-1, was extremely powerful. As expected, you have a lot of methods. Facing the swimming dragon flipping seal, the sickle of harvest, and Wu Li's indestructible Heaven Beheading Saber. If Night Sorrow chose to face them head-on, he would be no different from a fool. After activating the Sea Serpent Eye, he immediately used the Void Extreme Shadow Body and shuttled through the void, avoiding all the areas that the three could cover. However, when Night Sorrow's figure appeared, Wu Li's indestructible Heaven Beheading Saber had already dissipated. However, the swimming dragon flipping seal and the sickle of harvest swarmed forward again. These two divine artifacts were controlled by the artifact spirits and could attack independently. After locking onto Night Sorrow, their attacks were in a continuous state. Two artifact spirits dare to be so arrogant. Night Sorrow was very disgusted by the attacks of the swimming dragon flipping seal and the sickle of harvest. He condensed his divine essence and activated the heavenly Samsara halberd. He suddenly used the swimming dragon flipping seal and blasted out a forbidden spear. Night Sorrow, who had already activated the Treistrimsa battle mystic technique, this attack was several times stronger than the one that had sent the swimming dragon flipping seal flying. The spear pierced through the swimming dragon flipping seal. How can this be? Wu Li's expression changed when he saw that the swimming dragon flipping seal was pierced through by Night Sorrow's spear. The swimming dragon flipping seal was one of his most important divine artifacts. After being pierced through by the spear, although it was not completely destroyed, its power would definitely be greatly reduced and it would no longer be a threat to Night Sorrow. Why can't it be like this? Your sickle of harvest will also end up like this. You're just an artifact spirit and you still dare to chase after me endlessly. You're courting death. Night Sorrow roared and used the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array to imprison the sickle of harvest in a sealed space. Then, he used the heavenly Samsara halberd to unleash the raging demon subduing flames to trap and burn it. Not long after, the artifact spirit in the sickle of harvest was burned to death and the sickle of harvest fell to the ground uncontrollably. Night Sorrow. You destroyed two of my divine artifacts in a row. You definitely won't live to see tomorrow. Wu Li roared in anger when he saw Night Sorrow destroy the swimming dragon flipping seal and the sickle of harvest. Night Sorrow is simply a divine artifact killer. What grade is the Samsara halberd in his hand? How can it be so terrifying? On the square of Tianqing Gate, the spectators were all shocked by Night Sorrow's counterattack. Originally, they thought that Wu Li would definitely be able to suppress him with so much help. However, they did not expect that two of his divine artifacts would be destroyed in just a moment. It was like throwing two stones into a lake. There was no splash at all. The people of Tianyun School who were originally worried about Night Sorrow immediately relaxed when they saw the scene in front of them. Although the battle between him and Wu Yu had just begun, it was obvious that he still had the strength to fight. This made the hearts of Lu Qingyuan and the others gradually calm down. In the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, Night Sorrow, who was threatened by Wu Li, smiled contemptuously. Battle depends on strength. Words don't kill people. Night Sorrow, let's have a battle of life and death. The loser will not crush the teleportation crystal even if he is killed. Do you dare? Wu Li's voice carried the coldness of the Grim Reaper. There was a feeling of contempt for life. He naturally said this to provoke Night Sorrow. If Yishang didn't agree, then his aura would definitely weaken by a bit. Night Sorrow. You have a bright future ahead of you. There is no need to fight with him. Seeing that Wu Li actually issued such a challenge to Night Sorrow, Lu Qingyuan immediately shouted out worriedly. However, he was in the square of Tianqing Gate. How could he affect the people in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm? Just when he was worried and anxious. Night Sorrow looked at Wu Li and said, "Since you want a battle of life and death, I, Night Sorrow, will accompany you." Chapter 26:12. In fact, Night Sorrow had never retreated from a battle. Facing Wu Li, who was also a high god, he was confident that he could escape unscathed, even in a life-and-death battle. In a life-and-death battle, he would completely open the sea serpent eye and observe the details of his opponent's every move. This way, he would be in an invincible position. Ha ha ha. You agreed. Very good, I don't have to waste my breath. Now, welcome death. I will erupt with my true strength. Murderous aura condensed between Wu Li's eyebrows. The aura made Muronkai, who was not far away, shiver. Endless killing intent, the impact it brought was like an extraterrestrial demon. Wu Li's aura. How can this be? Muronkai, who was very close to Night Sorrow and Wu Li, felt Wu Li's evil aura and immediately became worried, afraid that Night Sorrow would fall for it. She transmitted her voice, "Night Sorrow. Wu Li's aura is extremely evil, you must be careful." "Don't worry, I have the power of virtue, I am naturally not afraid of any evil aura." Yi Shang comforted her and continued, "It'll be fine. I am confident that I will be invincible in the same realm. If you are at a disadvantage, I will take action no matter what." Muronkai's face showed a trace of determination. She felt that Night Sorrow did not need to accept the challenge. It was a bit risky, it was better for the two of them to take action together. "Don't worry, although I am only a medium-high god, my absolute strength should not be inferior to his." Night Sorrow replied confidently. Wu Li was very strong, whether it was his body, divine soul power, or divine origin energy, they were all very powerful. But the things he cultivated were mostly the experience gained in the Endless Bone Realm and Jin Yuan Divine Monarch's Cave. In comparison, Night Sorrow's cultivation in these aspects was more on point. Although his realm was relatively low, his foundation was very rich, especially after breaking through to medium-high god. His rich foundation had been completely transformed into battle strength. Good. I believe you can do it. Night Sorrow had unlimited confidence. Muronkai did not say much, but Wu Li did give him an extremely dangerous feeling. In the square of Tianqing Gate, Lu Qingyuan from Tianyun School sighed and said, "Night Sorrow agreed to Wu Li's life and death duel. This is too impulsive. It's not advisable. With his talent, if he doesn't experience this, he will be able to beat Wu Yu in all aspects in at most 1,000 years. This is the difference between you and the strong." Within the spatial artifact, the divine King Zhuangqing let out a cold snort and said, "The reason why an eagle is because it has been tempered by countless mountains and valleys. If it was cooped up in its nest all day long like a chicken, how could it soar to the 9 heavens? There's nothing wrong with Night Sorrow's choice in this matter. He has an invincible heart." Hearing this, Lu Qingyuan's body shook. It's Qingyuan's lack of boldness. Extraordinary people do extraordinary things. Night Sorrow won't let us down. Divine King Zhuangqing looked at Yi Chang in the projection. He could see a tyrannical look on his face, one that coveted the world. Such a person dared to fight the heavens and the earth. How could he be afraid of a mere Wu Li? As for the people of the other sects, the discussion was even more intense. 20 days ago, Night Sorrow was still fighting with Wu Yu of the Feather God realm. Now, he was facing his brother, Wu Li, who was ranked third on the divine list. This kind of speed of rise made everyone present pale in comparison. Just as the divine King Zhuangqing's voice fell, Knight Sorrow and Wu Li fought again. At this time, Wu Li's killing intent was completely released. His whole body seemed to be wearing a set of black armor. Go to hell, Knight Sorrow. I will smash you to pieces. While roaring, Wu Li used a unique skill. This move was called the Heaven and Earth Shattering Hand. It was a unique skill that used the strength of the body. Comparing the strength of the body. I think you've chosen the wrong direction. Knight Sorrow, who had activated the Clam Dragon's Eye, saw through Wu Li's attack. He imitated his ultimate technique and used the same move to counterattack. In terms of physical strength, he did not fear anyone of the same cultivation level. Rumble. After the two clashed, Knight Sorrow did not retreat half a step, while Wu Li retreated 1,000 meters. You also know the Heaven and Earth Shattering Hand. And your body isn't weaker than mine. Wu Li's face was filled with disbelief. How could he have imagined that Knight Sorrow could use the Sea Serpent Eye to see through his unique skill and imitate it? Samsara Void Palm. While Wu Li was stunned, Knight Sorrow seized the opportunity to use the Samsara Void Palm. Yi Shan could feel that Wu Li's body was very tough, but it was still a little weaker than his own. This was likely related to the Genesis Essence baptism. Fleeting 100 strikes. In the face of Knight Sorrow's Samsara Void Palm, Wu Li shouted and used the long blade in his hand to slash out thousands of blade shadows. These blade shadows were very fine and almost blocked all of Knight Sorrow's attack routes. He was using offense as a substitute for defense. He wanted Knight Sorrow to disperse the attack just now. You want me to disperse my attack? How is that possible? Wu Li's fleeting 100 strikes was very powerful, and it was executed with a Divine Lord level artifact. But Knight Sorrow did not retreat at all in the face of this move. Using his palm as a divine artifact, he clashed with it. Ha! Using your own body as a Divine Lord artifact, this isn't confidence, but ignorance. Wu Li let out a loud laugh and said. Tianqing Gate Square. Seeing Knight Sorrow make such a choice, the Tianyun school students were all worried. They had never seen anyone use their own body as a divine artifact in battle. In fact, they did not know that when Knight Sorrow went all out, he was not only ruthless to the enemy, but also to himself. Blade shadows. Break for me. While Wu Li was laughing wildly, Knight Sorrow's Samsara Void Palm slapped out a ripple in the void. Like ripples in the water, it blasted towards Wu Li's fleeting 100 strikes. Hundreds of boom explosions suddenly sounded in the void, and everything in the surrounding area was blown to smithereens. With the Eye of the Sea Serpent activated, Knight Sorrow could see through Wu Li's fleeting 100 strikes. With just one punch, he shattered hundreds of blade shadows. Then, he continued to attack Wu Li. This is impossible. Seeing Knight Sorrow break fleeting 100 strikes with one punch, Wu Li's face was full of shock. He did not expect that Knight Sorrow had the Eye of the Sea Serpent and could see through his every move. Nothing is impossible. Take this. This palm was about to hit Wu Li's body. Knight Sorrow roared and raised his palm to the strongest state. Tianqian Bell, protect. Wu Li felt as if he was locked in by the Samsara Void Palm. Knowing that he could not dodge, Wu Li summoned a bell-shaped defensive artifact from his spatial artifact. Seeing the appearance of the Tianqian Bell, the Tianqing Gate Master Tan Qingfeng was immediately surprised. Chapter 26:13. Clang. Knight Sorrow's Void Samsara Palm hit the profound heaven bell, and a loud thud was heard. Knight Sorrow spat out a mouthful of blood from the profound heaven bell's recoil. This profound heaven bell should be the best defensive weapon among divine lord weapons, and its recoil was very fierce. Ha! You're just an ant that just became a high god. How can you compare to me, Wu Li? Wu Li smiled grimly when he saw that Yi Shang had been injured. At the same time, he shouted, "Tao Tai Dire Wolf, come out." As he spoke, he summoned his mount, a high divine lord level beast. This was a powerful mount prepared by the sect for the 5 great sect masters. Whoa! The summoned Tao Tai Dire Wolf was 100 feet tall, and its fur looked like a long spear. Its mouth cracked open, and it looked ferocious, as if it wanted to swallow everything in the world. A high divine lord level Tao Tai Dire Wolf. Tianxian School actually prepared such a powerful mount for Wu Li. Its combat strength is probably higher than Wu Li's. Lu Qingyuan sighed when he saw Wu Li summon a high divine lord level mount. My Tianyun School's support for Night Sorrow was really minimal. Now that I think about it, I feel really guilty. My Tianyun School really didn't prepare enough. This time, let's see what kind of strength Night Sorrow can erupt with. Even the divine King Zhuangqing in the spatial artifact became nervous for Night Sorrow when he saw the profound heaven bell and the high divine lord level mount appear. The things that Tianxian School prepared for Wu Li were like cheating for the High Gods group. This Tao Tai Dire Wolf and Wu Li's strength is probably not something a High God can handle. It looks like Night Sorrow will definitely die this time. There's no need for us to cooperate with Tianyun School anymore. Tianqing Gate's Deputy Gate Master Liang Shijun said when he saw the scene in front of him. Normally, it should be so. Tianqing Gate's Gate Master Tan Qingfeng nodded and said, but Night Sorrow isn't an ordinary person. After all, he's not inferior to a ruler at the same level. He should be able to put up a fight. If Night Sorrow can still win despite Wu Li's shamelessness, it means that he probably has a destiny that is not inferior to a ruler's. People like this can only be befriended. Otherwise, you will suffer a serious backlash. Sect Master is right. At this moment, even I, Fan Xianyun, am a little curious about Yi Shang. I don't understand how he grew. I didn't see any items from the Tianyun clan on him. This proves that the Tianyun clan is not grooming him well. Of Heaven sect. Tianyun School is simply wasting resources. It's not without reason. Wu Li was armed to the teeth by Tianyun School, and Night Sorrow didn't have a single item from Tianyun School. Tianqing Gate's Gate Master Tan Qingfeng glanced at Tianyun School's Lu Qingyuan and said, if Night Sorrow had chosen to join Tianqing Gate, he could have killed Wu Li with his resources alone. I think that cultivating a genius is the same as cultivating an eagle. Tianyun School's Wu Li relied too much on his equipment and the strength of his mount. This is not conducive to cultivating a strong heart. Grand Elder Fan Xianyun shook his head. Grand Elder Fan, do you mean that Tianyun School made the right choice by accident? Tan Qingfeng asked doubtfully. Exactly. Let's continue to watch the battle. I want to see how Night Sorrow will break out of this situation. Fan Xianyun's gaze returned to the image. Night Sorrow was being suppressed by Wu Li and the Tao Tai Dire Wolf. He seemed to be in a difficult situation. The Tao Tai Dire Wolf was clearly stronger than Wu Li. It was ferocious and very difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow used the Samsara halberd. He had already used all the spear arts and techniques he could, but he couldn't hurt the Tao Tai Dire Wolf at all. This Tao Tai Dire Wolf clearly had a special bloodline. It wasn't something an ordinary upper celestial lord level beast could compare to. Divine Dragon Lock Spell. Night Sorrow was definitely not a match for the man and wolf. He was in a difficult situation under the suppression of the Tao Tai Dire Wolf. At this moment, Yi Shang recalled the scene when he killed Worryless. He had used the Divine Dragon Lock spell to trap himself and Wooly in the same sealed space and used the strength of his body to fight. This move stunned Wooly. However, his body wasn't weak either. After a brief moment of astonishment, he began to fight with Night Sorrow. Yishang's body had almost reached perfection with the help of the myriad Tao Tome and Genesis essence of the universe. He very quickly gained the upper hand in the fight. Wooly wanted to break out of the formation, but he didn't have any strength left. He could only passively take a beating like Wu Yu. "You're dead. You'll die in the same way as Wu Yu." Night Sorrow completely erupted in the sealed space of the Divine Dragon Lock spell. Without the Tao Tai Dire Wolf's interference, he would soon be able to kill Wooly, Wu. However, just as Night Sorrow was gaining the upper hand, the Tao Tai Dire Wolf outside suddenly roared and charged into the sealed space. With a boom, the Divine Dragon Lock spell, which was very difficult to break, was completely shattered by the Tao Tai Dire Wolf. The Tao Tai Dire Wolf clearly had a special ability. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to break the Divine Dragon Lock spell. Very good. Wooly, who had escaped from the Divine Dragon Lock spell, shouted at the Tao Tai Dire Wolf. When he was trapped inside earlier, he truly felt that he would be killed. Wooly laughed loudly and looked coldly at Night Sorrow. "Now that you've used everything you've been relying on, let's see how you're going to turn the tables." Wooly wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. Lu Qingyuan, Zhuang Qing, the Divine King and the others who were familiar with Night Sorrow also began to worry. They recalled for a moment and realized that Night Sorrow seemed to have used all the techniques he had used before. He didn't hold anything back. In such a situation, it would be extremely difficult for him to withstand the attacks of Wu Li and the Tao Tai Dire Wolf. Murong Tsai, who was watching from the side, had already begun to condense her divine yuan power in preparation to act. Just as everyone was worried about Yishang, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Night Sorrow was floating in the air, looking at Wu Li, who had deliberately distanced himself from him, as well as the Tao Tai Dire Wolf, who was attacking him once again. In such a desperate situation, he suddenly had an idea and turned around to escape into the formation he had set up. The Tao Tai Dire Wolf, who was unable to stop Wu Li in time, immediately rushed into the trap that Night Sorrow had set up. "Bastard! I'll kill you first." After the ferocious Tao Tai Dire Wolf rushed into the trap, its aura immediately weakened by 4 to 5% and its strength decreased by a lot. Chapter 26:14. Awo. The Tao Tai Dire Wolf howled as it was being burned by the ancestral phoenix's flames. Knowing that Night Sorrow had temporarily suppressed the Tao Tai Dire Wolf, Wu Li immediately used the profound heavenly bell to strike the formation. This was also using force to break the formation, but the effect was much better than Wu Li's swimming dragon sea-flipping seal. The formation was soon shaken. Samsara Strike. Night Sorrow did not delay. Before the trap formation was completely broken, he struck the Samsara Strike into the sealed space. The Tao Tai Dire Wolf, who was trapped and burned, was unable to dodge. The Samsara Strike caused its strength to drop from Upper Celestial Lord to Middle Celestial Lord. Boom! At this moment, the profound heavenly bell completely broke the trap formation. Night Sorrow. The trap formation is broken. Let's see what else you can do. Wu Li, who used the profound heavenly bell to break the trap formation, felt that Night Sorrow had no chance of winning. This was because the Tao Tai Dire Wolf had just broken Night Sorrow's divine origin dragon lock formation. However, after breaking the trap formation, he realized that the trapped Tao Tai Dire Wolf did not break out of the formation. Instead, it was being burned continuously. "My idea is to kill you and this beast." The Tao Tai Dire Wolf was trapped and could not even take care of itself. Night Sorrow attacked Wu Li with the heavenly Samsara halberd. Wu Li's strength was actually very strong. However, in battle, he relied too much on various divine weapons. In the long run, he lacked the determination to press forward. Facing Night Sorrow alone, he was obviously a little weak. He had been thinking about how to save the Taotai dire wolf and fight together with him. Therefore, in the battle, he was not focused enough and was continuously stabbed by Night Sorrow's heavenly samsara halberd. He was completely suppressed. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who found a chance to get close to Wu Li, immediately used the virtuous dragon lock formation to lock him and Wu Li in the sealed space. They completely engaged in close combat. This time, the weakened Taotai dire wolf and the profound heavenly bell could not break through the more powerful virtuous dragon lock formation. Under the frenzied close combat, Wu Li was quickly suppressed. It was only a matter of time before he was killed. However, just as Wu Li was about to be killed, a phantom suddenly drilled out from between his eyebrows. This phantom was a handsome man with long and narrow eyes. He looked at Night Sorrow and coldly threatened, "If you kill Wu Li, even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth, I, Wu Axayan, will destroy your soul. You're that despicable and shameless person who cheated High Base City of its resources and became the Divine King, Wu Axayan." In the enclosed space, Night Sorrow coldly asked Wu Axayan, who was dressed in white. After arriving in the God Realm, the two people that Night Sorrow hated the most were Ling Yun and Wu Axayan. "Oh. So, you're related to Mo Yuqian and Jin Yuan?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Wu Axayan coldly asked. His long and narrow eyes were filled with killing intent. "I'm related to you because I'll destroy you with my own hands." Night Sorrow naturally wouldn't mention Mo Yuqian and Jin Yuan. He was afraid that Wu Axayan would attack them if he couldn't find him. The current Wu Axayan was already the Divine King. Judging from his aura, he should be an expert among the Divine Kings. This was a huge threat. He didn't say much and immediately snapped Wu Li's neck. "Bastard! You're courting death. When I come out of seclusion, there will be no place for you in the world." Seeing Wu Li being killed by Night Sorrow with his own eyes, Wu Axayan's killing intent completely exploded. However, he was on the verge of a breakthrough. The phantom he left behind for Wu Li didn't have any fighting power. He could only watch helplessly. Shameless boasting. "I'll kill you first." Facing the Divine King's phantom that didn't have any fighting power, Night Sorrow smashed it like a fly. After killing Wu Li, Night Sorrow fought with the Taotai dire wolf. The weakened Taotai dire wolf was no longer a match for Night Sorrow and was quickly killed. Then, he stored Wu Li's spatial device and Tianxian School's unique defensive artifact, the Tianxian Bell, into his own spatial device. Wu Li had a lot of treasures. Therefore, Night Sorrow didn't open it under the illumination of the image crystal. After defeating Wan Jianhai and Wu Li consecutively, he gained 60 points. His total points reached 110, successfully surpassing Wu Li, who was originally in first place with 90 points. He once again reached the top of the Heavenly Gods group. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing Wu Li killed and the Tianxian Bell taken by Night Sorrow, everyone in Tianxian School was enraged. They started to discuss how to deal with Night Sorrow and take back the Tianxian Bell. Ha ha ha. Night Sorrow didn't disappoint us. This time, he created a miracle. If nothing goes wrong, our Tianyun School will be the champion of the Heavenly Gods group in the 7 Sects tournament. He single-handedly decided the champion of the Divine Feathers group and the Heavenly Gods group. He really is a peerless genius. After Night Sorrow killed Wu Li, Lu Qingyuan clenched his fists in excitement. His eyebrows were furrowed. All this time, the Tianyun School had been holding back too much. This time, they finally exploded. It was very likely that they would win both the Divine Feathers group and the Heavenly Gods group. Night Sorrow also had a chance to win the individual Heavenly Gods group. Our Tianyun school has been silent for thousands of years. Now, we finally have a golden age. This feeling is really great. To be able to witness all of this with my own eyes, this trip is really worth it. The divine King Zhuangqing in the spatial device was also very happy. As for Si Kongxiang, Mei Ruoxue and the rest, they were even more excited. The moment Night Sorrow killed Wu Li, they almost shouted at the same time. In the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, Murong Tsai, who had witnessed Night Sorrow successfully killing Wu Li, revealed a smile. I didn't expect that you would be so strong after breaking through to the heavenly gods a month ago. Now that Wu Li is dead, no one in the entire Immortal Cloud's secret realm is your opponent. Tianyun School has already been crowned champion in advance. Murong Tsai congratulated Tianyun School from the bottom of her heart for winning the double championship. There won't be a fight between us. In the next few days, it will depend on whose luck is better and who meets more opponents. Night Sorrow said with a smile. With his personality, he naturally wouldn't be protective of his friends. If Murong Tsai met more experts and succeeded in obtaining points, she would still have a chance to lead the Tianyun School to defeat Tianyun School. Hee, my life was saved by you. It would be too much to compete with you for points. You can continue to participate in the competition. I will give you my points. After saying this, Murong Tsai tilted her head and smiled. She calmly crushed the teleportation crystal in her hand. Hey! You don't have to do this. Night Sorrow wanted to stop her, but when his hand stopped in mid-air, Murong Tsai had already teleported out of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Because of this, Yi Shang gained another 32 points for no reason. His total points had reached 142 points. Even if he didn't obtain any more points, there was a high chance that he would be the champion of the Heavenly Gods group competition. What the hell is this? Night Sorrow shook his head and began to think about his next move. However, at this moment, in the distant sky, a dazzling 7-colored star suddenly rose. Seeing this star, he said doubtfully, "This is Zhuang Yuha's distress signal." Now that the top few experts had all left, it was reasonable to say that he shouldn't be threatened anymore. Could it be that he met a half-step divine king realm mutated beast? Chapter 26:15. Night Sorrow didn't see Zhuang Yuha or anyone from the Starry Sky Pavilion when he arrived at the location of the signal. However, he found the entrance to a cave. After opening the sea serpent's eye and observing the footprints, Night Sorrow confirmed that many people had entered the cave. However, he wasn't sure what had happened. Should I go in or not? There were no signs of battle nearby, but Zhuang Yuha's distress signal was indeed sent here. Night Sorrow felt that something was amiss. However, after thinking for a while, he decided to go in and take a look. The people from the Starry Sky Pavilion had a good relationship with him. Now that they were in danger, it wasn't his style to leave them in the lurch. Tianqing Gate Square. Everyone from the Starry Sky Pavilion, including Yuntiani, was moved when they saw Night Sorrow's figure appear in the video. Just now, in Zhuang Yuha's image, they saw Zhuang Yuha and another disciple being chased by several masked black-robed men. The two of them had released a signal at the entrance of the cave and escaped into the cave. Then, several masked men in black robes chased after them. When the two of them entered the cave, the video crystal had completely lost its effect. Everyone, what's going on with this cave? In the video, Lu Qingyuan, who had just witnessed Night Sorrow killing Wu Li, immediately walked over to the Heavenly Star Pavilion and inquired after Night Sorrow entered the Immortal's cave. Night Sorrow was too important to the Tianyun School. He didn't want anything to happen to Night Sorrow. It's the people from the Starry Sky Pavilion who were chased by several masked men in black robes. They had no choice but to escape into the cave. Yun Tianyi, who was familiar with Night Sorrow, answered Lu Qingyuan's question on behalf of the sect. She also told him about the video crystal in the cave. If I remember correctly, Zhuang Yuhe from the Starry Sky Pavilion is ranked second in the deity group. Now that Wu Li and Meng Du have been killed, there's no one left who can threaten him. This matter is obviously a little strange. Lu Qingyuan judged. It's indeed a little strange. I wonder who these men in black robes are. At this time, an elder from the Starry Sky Pavilion also spoke. Now that Wu Li, Meng Du, Murong Kai Yi, and the other masters were no longer in the immortal cloud-sealed realm, he really couldn't figure out who these men in black robes were. What's going on? Tan Qingfeng, the clan master of the Tianqing clan, who had been secretly paying attention to the Tianyun clan, also came to the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Sect, the elder who had just explained the situation Soros explained. It seems Sky Pavilion is sect. Hutes bbs. Tions is, have to ts tion sky sects, sky, sss, gate, sect, s yang sleezestits. B's sects leave now that the 7-sect great competition was about to come to an end. They needed to consider how to return to Tianyun school. We've been interrogating them, but they're very stubborn and won't admit it's related to the sky demon. Tan Qingfeng explained, this sect master suspects that the people of Soaring Heaven sect are either controlled by the heavenly demon or have been infiltrated by the heavenly demon. In any case, the sky sect must give us a reasonable explanation. To tell you the truth, Night Sorrow once bumped into the sky sect's people and summoned the sky demon while trembling. Lu and Qingyuan explained the situation to him. It seems that the other 6 sects need to join forces and put pressure on the sky sect. This matter involves the sky demon, we can't let it go. Tan Qingfeng said. What he meant was that the 6 sects should join forces and put pressure on the sky sect. If it didn't work, they would directly attack the sky sect. If the soft approach doesn't work, then we can only use the hard approach. Lu Qingyuan said slowly, conveying the meaning of the divine king Zhuangqing. As for the Tianyun school, he didn't mention the possibility of being targeted on the way back. The people of the Heavenly Star Pavilion also agreed to deal with this matter. Since both of your sects have agreed to take action against the Sky sect, I'll contact the people of the other sects. Tianyun School and the people of the Heavenly Star Pavilion both agreed to take action against the Sky sect. Tan Qingfeng left to contact the people of the other 3 sections. At this time, in the immortal cloud-sealed realm, Night Sorrow, who had walked into the cave, used the power of his soul to investigate. As for the people in the Tianqing Gate Square, after Night Sorrow entered the cave, the image in front of them completely disappeared. It was exactly the same as the situation of Zhuang Yuhe and the others. They're fighting not far away. What surprised Night Sorrow was that as soon as he entered the cave, he heard a fierce battle in front of him. He rushed down the long corridor towards the scene of the battle. Rushing to a huge chessboard in front of him, Night Sorrow saw Zhuang Yuhe alone, fighting against 4 masked black-robed people. At this time, he was in a very bad state and looked like he could be killed at any time. "Brother Jade River, let me lend you a hand." Seeing that his situation was critical, Night Sorrow immediately rushed into the battle. He was a little surprised that only 4 high gods were suppressing Zhuang Yuhe. "Night Sorrow. I didn't expect you to come to die." Seeing Night Sorrow appear, one of the black-robed people sneered. "You know me." Night Sorrow felt that the voice was a little familiar, but he couldn't remember it for a while. "Of course I know you, because I am Hua Yun Miao of the Sky Sect, and these 3 are my junior brothers." After saying this, Hua Yun Miao simply took off her mask, no longer hiding anything. The people of the Sky Sect knew more about the immortal cloud-sealed realm than Night Sorrow and the others, so they knew that the image crystal had no effect here. There is indeed something wrong with your sky sect. I won't hide it from you, Qin Wu Mian was killed by me. Knight Sorrow stood beside Zhuang Yuhe and confronted the people of Sky Sect. What? Junior brother Qin was killed by you. Hearing this, Hua Yunmiao's brows suddenly overflowed with black qi, and she said furiously, "Today, I will take you down and make you a sacrifice for Sir Divine King's revival." A sacrifice for Sir Divine King's revival. The Lord Godly King you mentioned is the extraterrestrial devil that was sealed. Knight Sorrow's tone was quite cold. Hua Yunmiao's words proved that he had completely betrayed the god realm and was in cahoots with the heavenly demon. There was no need for such a person to continue living. Yes. And you will be one of the sacrifices. Go, take him down. Hua Yunmiao, who was covered in black qi, said coldly. She ordered the other three to attack while she attacked Zhuang Yuhe again. She wanted to subdue him as soon as possible so that the four of them could deal with Night Sorrow at the same time. He felt that Night Sorrow's defeat of Qin Wu Mian proved that his strength was not bad. You think I can take him down just because you said so? Night Sorrow, who had taken out the reincarnation heavenly halberd, even killed Wu Li, so how could he be afraid of the four people of Sky Sect? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.